All right. Greetings and salutations, one and all, and welcome to the eighth season of Timeless Gamer, where our games and bodies may grow out of date, but our gaming experiences will forever remain timeless. Coming to you now live in Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And for all of our archive videos of previous episodes, you can still check them out by going to the YouTube channel of the Timeless Gamer Show. And you can also listen to us by going to all of the major audio streaming platforms by searching in Timeless Gamer Show. And previously on the Timeless Gamers, we done an episode all about Danger Dance, the Sega Shoot 'em Up Challenge, where us in the Timeless Gamer crew was subjected. Is that the right word? Subjected, coerced,
It was inflicted
dared.
upon us.
I
And we had
encouraged
the support group.
support group.
Yes, that's true. We
Um,
had a support group right afterwards. Oh my God.
highly so Sir Dan of the Sega Mega Masters highly encourage us to play a few shoot 'em up games coming from the Sega Genesis, Sega Mega Drive library, and to rant our experiences on how we played or finished those games. So tons of fun. Lots of shit was said.
Mm.
A lot of grief was shed. um, uh, for all of you guys who are curious about what happened during that episode, you can still check them out by going to the YouTube channel of the Timeless Gamer Show, or just hearing the audio version of that by going to the major audio streaming platforms out there like Spotify. Alrighty. So as you can see, we're quite a stacked panel right now because it's a very special episode. Um, we haven't really done this kind of topic in a while. It's the strategic role playing game. So another RPG topic, guys. And you know us, every time we do an RPG episode, we always go to way hyper overtime. So we'll try to keep it as tight as much as possible. Introducing the panel for tonight. Sir JDM of 123 Go Retro.
Hello, good evening, guys, from the wastelands of Cebu City. Here comes 1, 2, 3, go. One day, Marcos.
Go, go with Echo. uh, and we got Miss Anslyn Porter.
Hi
Miss
everyone,
I.
welcome to Timeless Gamer. Welcome. Hope you enjoy our episode on SRPGs.
Where's your Echo?
I don't
Echo.
have an echo. Echo.
Bird Joel of Banyaga Native.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are. This is Joel, Banyagang Native. Looking forward to discussing how bad I am regarding strategy RPGs. There you go.
No, not. Returning back to the show. The last time he was here, we did the Transformers episode. Sir Joe Marot.
Good morning, good evening, and I hope you like our topic for today.
All right, short and sweet.
Yep.
And representing the JRPG Philippines, let's introduce first, returning back to the show, Sir Bernard Drew, also one of the hosts of the new podcast called Insert Coin Press Start. Sir Bernard Drew.
Good evening, and thank you so much for having me for this very special topic. And this is something that I was really looking forward to. And thank you so much for even even asking me to do the show with Timeless Gamer. Really excited, really happy, and good evening. And hope you enjoy the episode, guys.
All right. And of course, returning again to the show, I think this would be her third uh, a third time here in the show. The admin of JRPG Philippines, Miss Inotora.
Hello everyone. Thank you for having me again here and apologies. It's been a while since I last joined you guys, so I'm really hyped for today's episode and I'm glad to see that we have a very large cast of here in our panel for today. So everyone, I hope you enjoy the show.
And we were saving this episode because I would prefer having Miss Hino and Sir Drew to talk about anything RPGs because they know more about this stuff anyway. Uh, I'm more of a casual. I'm just more of a casual fan of JRPG, so I'm not really the all be all authority around here in regarding with the genre. These two, yeah, they're legit. Aside from Sir Dan and Sir Viraj, unfortunately, who cannot be here. So at least we are being joined by the ones who do know about the genre. And so yeah, so strategy role playing games, also known as tactical role playing games. So I would like to ask the panel, um, each one of you, how do you define a strategic role playing game, and how would you differentiate that with any other RPGs? I mean, what are the difference? How about we'll try it with Miss I.
For me, just a disclaimer, I'm not really into tactical and strategic RPGs. So for me, TRPGs or SRPGs would be turn based, usually with tiles on the platform. So it's usually turn based and not real time for me. And you have the opportunity to plan your attacks with menus and whatnot. That's what basically SRPGs are for me.
And she is not wrong. How about Sir JDM?
For me, it's like the offspring of Command and Conquer and Final Fantasy. So you have this party, then you try to battle with the enemies, then you're in this big area that you can move around with, whether it's a tile or a hexagonal grid. So you try to utilize the terrain as well, and the height and the elevation of the terrain to make it to your advantage.
All right. Sir JDM is not wrong. How about Sir Jomar? Some say you're kind of playing like chess or checkers. Is that true?
Oh yes, it's mostly it's like playing chess or checkers. It's against either an AI or a real person. So I'm just gonna add a few notes about what Miss Eileen said. Well, it's a turn based. Usually, it's a turn based, but um, tactical RPG usually give you that gameplay that you have to beat one stage first. Just using what you have on that stage, just to advance to the next stage.
All right. And Sir Jomar is not wrong also. How about Sir Joel? How would you define an SRPG?
Let's see. An SRPG, I mean, from my limited knowledge of it, from my limited game time of it, the main component of SRPGs is positioning. If you're in a, you move your units to certain positions that would give you the most advantage when it comes to attacks and defense. So with the SRPGs that I've played, with the few ones that I've played, I've noticed that that is the main component of it because it's got a lot of factoring in of the terrain, factoring in of elevation of the area, factoring in of whatever weaponry you have as opposed to whatever weaponry the enemy has. It's not as personal stat building as usual RPGs, JRPGs or Western RPGs. It's more of learning how best to position your units as opposed to the enemy's position, and one thing I've noticed about it is in Filipino parlance it's called kuyog. The best thing to do is to move all your units around one unit, beat them up all at the same time, and then move on to the next one, hoping that the enemy doesn't come behind you and start doing the same thing to you. So it's positioning, it's sneakiness, it's being as nasty as possible to one person at a time and then moving on. That's it. That's my observation of it.
Not a bad strategy, really. We all do it. How about Sir Drew? How would you differentiate that subgenre to an ordinary RPG?
Okay, so considering what everyone has said earlier, and everyone is not wrong on that, and so basically, if we're gonna compare it to something in real life, it's like chess, because each there would actually, mostly on most cases, there would be only two groups. So one one single move can only be made in a single turn, and that is made out of a movement, action, or something of the like. So it differentiates from a regular RPG because there is movement, and there are some differences in regards to SRPGs, because some SRPGs have elevation on them, and some SRPGs have only what you call the chess like feel, like SRW series, the Super Robot War series, Fire Emblem, and there are the games with elevation that has like Final Fantasy Tactics, Triangle Strategy, Gen the Arc, and the likes. So there are things to consider in an SRPG that is not available to a regular JRPG or a regular turn-based RPG, because besides from positioning, as Sir Joel has said, besides from positioning, and besides from the weapons and certain things, there is also an additional objective in some of the maps. So what really differentiates an SRPG from a regular JRPG is the movement, the environment. There's the map, wherein on a regular JRPG or regular turn-based RPG, you are just strictly limited to the moment, or the scenario of that particular battle. Wherein an SRPG, there's a map, there's a set objectives, and there is a set number of individuals that you could bring into the map. So it is almost always, not always equal, and most of the time, the enemy team has an advantage over you, and in most cases. So besides the
So
wrapping up,
so
yes,
there are other factors to consider.
yes, there are factors, there are rules, and there an SRPG, um there's much more to think about in an SRPG, because the environment is interactable, where in a
Mm,
regular turn-based game, your environment only gets interactable in most of the cases in boss battles, wherein there's a crane, there's multiple parts of an enemy that you must target, which
right.
is also an added thing on the front mission series, wherein you could target the cockpit, the
Oh, that's true.
anyway,
That's true.
yeah, yeah. So
That's true.
so basically, what I'm trying to say is it's the environment, the map, that adds to the layer of what an SRPG is, but not limited to having it grid based, because there are games that does not have grid, like the Disgaea, Makai Kingdom, those SRPGs. So to keep it TLDR, that's it.
These are the people, guys. Hmm. How about you, how about you, Miss Hino? So considering everybody has mentioned, do you think the SRPG subgenre is more difficult to play in comparison to the regular RPGs?
I would definitely say that it's a genre that is not for everyone, but I did notice that throughout the years, we're having like a renaissance of the genre, and I think it's more accessible to a lot of people, especially to the younger generations who aren't as familiar to the genre, since one could say it has a smaller fan base versus its parent JRPG slash RPG um, subculture. So um, yes, it definitely has its more difficult and more complex parts. And if I'm to piggyback off of what everyone else in the panel has said, I think it's a more rigid form of role playing game. Normally, when we play role playing games, it's more about the action, traversing around the world, going to new towns, going to new cities, meeting new characters. But normally, what you would see in a strategy RPG is that you can't really roam the world. You're just seeing a map. You click the locations, and then you'll enter this little cutscene, normally just dialogue based, and then you start the battle. If we're going to look into what necessarily is the very charm point of an SRPG, to me, that would be the map. The map, I believe, is everything because everything hinges around that environment. Your enemies, your strategy, and what do you call this? No, how complex the battle or how easy the battle would be. Uh, One could say it's kind of repetitive, but to those people who are expecting that you can grind SRPGs, it's not really as easy as that because there are times wherein the difficulty suddenly spikes and then you're just attacking the enemies and then the next thing you know your whole army is dead. So I think that's what differentiates it from the rest of the general RPGs, the difficulty curve.
And your character units can be very selfish. There's only one character can only level up compared to your regular RPGs. Every battle, once it's over, everybody gets an experience points. You get an experience points. You get experience points. You get experience points. You get experience points. But no, in SRPGs, only one character gets to level up. Every time who gets the killing blow, that gets the most experience, he gets to level up. That's it. How about the others? Eh. So before
So it
we
doesn't matter if some if so it doesn't matter if one character deals as many blows as possible to the enemy. It's the last guy who
it's
does
the last guy.
what an asshole. Sorry to say. Okay.
He gets the story. But hey, that's how grounding works in this subgenre.
Oh,
So before
if
we
I can
head,
also add one more thing. Sorry, John.
yeah,
If I can add one more thing about I've noticed about SRPGs as opposed to JRPGs. It's the fact that it's the fact that the storylines seem to be much more complex. I mean, regular JRPGs or Western RPGs have a certain level of complexity that allows you to feel like you're in part of a grand storyline of things. I've noticed in a lot of SRPGs, the storyline is so big that it affects kingdoms. Literally, we're talking about kingdoms against kingdoms here, like very much War of the Roses or Romance of the Three Kingdoms kind of storyline telling. It's not just a small party going in to infiltrate a castle to rescue a queen and to return her to a kingdom so that the kingdom will remain stable. That JRPG trope or Western RPG trope is usually the case when it comes to Western NJRPGs. But when it comes to strategy RPGs, we're talking like this small band of warriors is coming and they will destabilize an entire kingdom so that another kingdom can go and swoop in and destroy that one. So that the SRPG storyline is much grander. I've noticed
I,
when it comes to plotline. Yes, Miss Yuno.
I guess I guess if we're gonna look at it from a development perspective, since I mentioned earlier that strategy RPGs are more limited, we don't really see many cutscenes, we can't really roam around the world. That means that they would need to focus more on something else, which I think would be the story or the narrative. That's why when we have these strategy RPGs, we get more complex, usually more mature storylines as compared to its RPG counterpart. So I think that's another strength of the genre. Aside from its very unique battle, it's really the story.
agreed. All right. Thank you for all of your inputs, everyone. So before we go with the meat and potatoes about the show, let's say hi to the chat. How you all doing down there, Sir JDM? Who do we got down there?
Oh, so here in our chat section, we have Sir Marlon Hurtado Lescupides who says Fire Emblem series, which is, I think, one of the prominent SRPGs right now, right? Since the early 90s. And we also have Sir Siebert Silagan of, he said Chrono Trigger is the best RPG. I doubt that.
Calling Sir Dan. Sir Dan.
Yeah, yeah.
Love you, Sir Seabird.
And and we also have, let's see, Jason Santiago. Happy streaming po, guys. Ay, maraming salamat, Jason Santiago.
Happy birthday,
And we also
Jason.
have,
Happy
happy
birthday,
birthday,
Jason.
Jason Santiago. Happy birthday. And also, Raymond John Orendes of Retro Freak Gaming. Bakit Inglesero si Tito Jomenten daw?
So Raymond cannot be here for this episode, unfortunately. I think he has an event for tomorrow. Yeah.
Ay. And someone
Sir
named
Pao.
Juan De Marcos also
Mm,
Mm.
commented in. Welcome in, Timeless Gamers. And Sir Pao Boado, who mentioned Super Robot Wars. Ayan. And let's see. Otako Sama says, good evening. Good evening, Otako
mm,
Sama.
mm.
And we also got some comments here. They're dropping in their favorite SRPG games. Let's see, Shining Force, sabi ni Jason Santiago. And also from Marlon Elescopides, Famicom War series. And then Sir Pabuado says SRPGs are more on preparations and literally strategizing. At times, you just don't blow through stages just by aggressively attacking, right?
That's
Sometimes
true.
you get to hold back. Uh, Sometimes there's a in the terrain you can see your castle. If you're placed inside it, there's like defense. What do you call that? There's an increase in defense or something like that. So you're more less prone to damage.
It can affect your stats
And yeah,
depending on where you stand. Yeah.
right. All right. So I guess that's the people that we got here at the
Those
moment.
are the
So back to you.
All right, thank you for that, Sir JDM. So yeah, so what we're gonna do with this particular episode, because there's quite a lot of us, we will just do a quick round robin of sorts. So each one of us will present one game, and then everybody gets another turn. So let's start with Sir Joel. Sir Joel, what's your first SRPG of
Mm.
choice
All
for
right.
this evening?
So yes, my first SRPG choice. I'll have to admit this genre isn't one where I am extremely good at. I've noticed because of the fact that it's the gameplay stretches out very long. One game session, one battle is at the very minimum 30 minutes for me. We're talking like a
30.
general, yeah, a 30-minute battle. We're talking like because of the fact
30.
that you have to move your units all the way to where the enemy are, or you have to wait for them to come to you for you to make kuyog
Yeah.
to them, you know. So it's
Yeah.
like we're talking positioning plays a role here. You're talking about you're standing up on top of the mountain. You're waiting for them to come to you for you to be able to use your terrain to your advantage and start shooting arrows at them. So the first game that I'm talking about here is a game called Tier Ring Saga on the PlayStation
Oh.
1. It's one that hasn't that I'm not quite sure if it has an official English release or Western release, but it is a game that had a fan based patched English patch. And I guess that's one thing that I'm very thankful for to the community. A lot of great games are coming out nowadays that were released in the old days that never got a translation. But the fan community is amazing. They work hard to do passion projects to translate the games that never got translated so that more people in the West can enjoy it. One game that I'm talking about is called Tier Ring Saga. It came out on PlayStation 1, and I'll have to admit, if Joe can put up the footage, it would be something that people will be able to see what it looks like. Tier Ring Saga is a game that looks a lot like, for lack of a better comparison, Fire Emblem. It's a game that looks a lot like Fire Emblem. It's got fantasy setting. It's got characters roaming around the map. It's got the whole. You've got knights. You've got paladins. You've got princesses that need rescuing. It begins regularly enough where there's people coming into a town, and then there's a princess coming up to who needs rescuing, and bandits coming up to try to waylay the princess coming in. So this one, I have to admit, it reminded me a lot of the Fire Emblem series for lack of something that I mean I have played the Fire Emblem series. I played the couple of Fire Emblem games that are on the Game Boy Advance, and this one I'll say reminds me so much of it that it might as well be another Fire Emblem game in the sense that you've got this almost the same kind of artwork, you've got almost the same kind of color palette. Needless to say, it's positioning your characters, making sure that they are in the best position so that once the enemy comes up, then you can start beating up on them. Um, Factor in what the triangle I call it triangle schema of weaponry. So swords will beat sorry spear axes will beat spears or javelins. Spears will beat swords, and swords will beat axes. It's a triangle of whatever weaponry will beat the other weaponry. So it would be best for you to position your units that wield these certain weapons or that have the specialties for these weapons to go up against the enemies that have weaker weaponry against you. Now, one thing is through this game, through tiering saga, I've noticed one thing that I have to acknowledge Miss Hinu's input earlier, that you don't get to really explore the map as per se because you feel that the enemy is coming up at you. There is a chance for you to go up and enter different buildings and talk to all these different people inside of them and buy supplies and weapons and things like that. But you're almost always pressed for time with this one because you know that the enemy is coming, that you have to try to rescue certain people, or you have to accomplish certain obligations, sorry, goals, as per Drew's description. And it's I guess it's got those two things from strategy RPGs that I have to say are present in most strategy RPGs that I played. It's got the complexity, it's got the complication of you have to see how all of these numbers, in a way, actually, I should be happy with a game like this because of the fact that I'm an accountant. It deals with so many numbers that that it boggles your mind. And all the other games that I play, like city builders, financial management games, and everything, they appeal to me greatly because of all the numbers. This one, though, can get a little overwhelming, especially with regard to you're adding one more thing aside from the numbers that you have to crunch. It's the positioning and the possibility that your characters might not survive the ordeal. There's such a thing as permadeath in a lot of SRPGs that I've played. You get your character killed, he's not going to be present in later scenarios of the game. In this case, it does look a lot like Advance Wars. It kind of looks a little bit like Shining Force. If anybody, I know somebody's going to bring that up, and I know Dan has mentioned Shining Force as one of his favorite strategy RPGs. But yes, Tearing Saga for the PlayStation One has that feel of being a Fire Emblem game without it being a Fire Emblem game. It's kind of hard to describe because of the fact that this game is so reliant on comparisons to other strategy RPGs that it kind of fails to have its own personality. It's that kind of game where one can say that it's kind of like a clone of another game that may or may not. This one, though, I admit I had a lot of fun with, and I got to, I think, stage 5 or 6 of it. And it's the kind of game that will that at least kind of works hard to get that feeling of it being that long of a game of a sorry of a turn for you to not get so bored of it. So I'll have to admit that it's a nice game. May I give it a 7 out of 10? And that's my personal opinion of the game called Tearing Saga for the PlayStation One. For those of you who are on the audio portion of the podcast, Joe is showing the stage one of the game, and it shows the usual player turn, enemy turn, nice generic fantasy artwork. The characters being positioned in certain, if the character's in a forest, then he has the advantage against cavalry. If the character is using a spear, then he's got an advantage against somebody using a sword. So those are the things that are being showcased in the video portion of the game. So I encourage those of you who are listening in on the audio portion of the podcast to check out the video portion of the game of the podcast as well. Back to you, Joe.
All right, thank you for that, Sir Joel. And we got a question here coming from Sir Siebert. Sir JDM, would you mind, please?
Mm.
Yes, Sir C, but is asking a question for someone who is not into this genre. What do you think that I should play that will make this make me like the SRPG genre?
Mhm.
All
Guys.
right, I will let Sir Drew and Miss Hinu
Yes.
answer this one.
Yes, please. Hmm.
How about Sir
Mm,
Drew? For a
well,
beginner,
for
novice
a
entry.
beginner, well, let's see. If you want, I could not really say simpler, but if you want something that does not deal with elevation, or if you are a mecha kind of person, somebody who loves either Gundam or super robots in general, you could really check Super Robot Wars, the series, or the Gundam Cross Race series if you're into mecha. But if you are not into the to the mecha genre, one game, the one recent game released last year that I would like to recommend, a really awesome game, and if you like the HD 2D aesthetic, is Triangle Strategy, which I hopefully I would be able to discuss more on later. And the reason why I would highly recommend that is because it has the TL version is it has a good story. It is easily accessible because it is just released last year. So I'm guessing the price has somewhat gone down since it is not a first party Nintendo release. S- the characters are um really relatable, and the story is as what Sir Joel has mentioned earlier. It does revolve around kingdoms warring with kingdoms. So if he or she would likes Game of Thrones, something of the sort, that's something that they would want to consider getting into as a beginner. And if you want a little bit more uh cuddly or a little bit more aching to your style, there are so many SRPGs out there that are spin-offs of certain series that you could use as an entry point into the genre. So for example, if you like Pokemon, there's Pokemon Conquest. um if you like Final Fantasy, there is the there is Final Fantasy Tactics Advance 1 and 2. Those are ones on the GBA. Those are a little bit more less serious than the main game, and much more accessible ROM wise, I think. So also I think it's about finding something that you connect with to go and try and go into the genre. Because if you're just it's easy to really recommend something, a game that I really like or I really enjoyed or that's really good in the genre, but at the same time it's there's a beginner trying to get into the genre and he has no connection with the genre. I would recommend going for a game that he somewhat connects with, that has because the as I've said, SRPG has a lot of spin-offs. So maybe something along those lines.
I will make it easier for the both of you. Sir Siebert likes horror and kiddie games. So how about Miss Hinu? So considering Sir Siebert likes horror, anything horror and kiddie games,
I'm a,
is there any SRPG that has some of those elements?
I'm a bloody chicken. I don't watch horror. What do you mean?
uh, uh, I'm actually stumped because I could not for the life of me remember a horror themed SRPG. And I really can't.
The closest that comes to mind will be Kudelka, but not really.
Yeah, not
Mm,
really.
yeah, not
Kinda.
really.
I mean, aside from the movement, when you aside
Yeah,
from the
yeah, yeah.
movement, because you're moving in
Well,
grids.
feel like
but not
cute
really.
and horror style characters. This Gaia.
Oh, this guy,
There's
yeah,
there's
yeah.
monsters.
Their horror team.
vampires out
They look
there.
kids.
Cute. Hey,
They're
this
We have
cute.
Gaia.
Yeah.
monsters.
Yeah, but
Right.
if you
This guy.
recommend this guy right off the bat to a beginner SRPG player,
This
you're
guy
just
won.
it's
This
like
guy won.
you're taking a 4-year-old kid and tossing him into the 10-foot side of the pool.
This
Learn
guy
to swim,
won.
kid.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
guy won.
But since he's just a preemie, you could just really toss him around and he'll just grow up.
This
All
guy
right, kid,
won.
go
The
swim.
This
Yeah.
guy won.
Yeah.
I,
All
I
right.
mean, I've tried this guy at one. I'll be the first to say that is a good. It's a good way of fooling somebody into thinking that it's a nice starter SRPG. But when you dig into it, it's like an infinite game. I've heard
It's
tell.
stupidly long.
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
Long.
Yes.
That's what I was gonna
True.
say.
True.
I
It's
was
only
I,
stupidly long if you make it stupidly long.
I was trying to
It
dance
doesn't
around
have to
that
That's
be.
point,
also
Miss
true.
It
Hino, but
doesn't
yeah,
have to
you've
be.
got it.
It doesn't have to be.
Oh my god. No, we're talking about the item world being basically an infinite game. You go in, each item is upgradable to the point that it is like Miss Hina says, it's stupidly long to the point that you'll almost never finish it if you decide I'm gonna perfect each and every single thing here. So you're
Yeah.
you might as well just forget your gaming budget and just reallocate it into something better because that's the only game you're gonna be playing forever.
It's not
That's
for the. It's not for the completionist people.
so there you go. That's
Oh,
it. Okay,
and it
so
has the
mhm.
yeah.
All right.
Just
So
to add on
so
what
we'll
Oh, by the way,
we'll
I'm
move
not sure
on
if
to
I can
any
recommend it.
Oh yeah, yeah, Miss I go.
I was wondering if I could recommend something to Sir Siebert.
Oh, go on
Not sure if
ahead.
this
What you
works,
got?
but if you're a Walking Dead fan, there's actually a strategic RPG on the mobile phone.
Which
If
one?
this works
Oh
for you, if
well,
you're a Walking Dead
What
fan,
is
so
that?
this is a turn-based
Tactical.
I didn't even know
strategy
that.
RPG. I would
What
say
game is it?
maybe.
What's the
Yes,
title of it,
Walking Dead.
Miss Porter? Walking Dead 2. Okay.
Walking
Walking
Okay.
Dead
Dead.
No Man's Land. In case,
No Man's
No.
yes,
Land.
it's
Okay.
a really basic
The Walking
strategic
Dead No Man's
turn-based.
Land.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yes, on the mobile
so
phone.
horror team
Mm-hmm.
strategy RPG kind of game, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is it
Hang on, I
available for
haven't said
Android?
my recommendation.
Is it Android or iOS?
Miss
I'm using
Miss
Android.
Porter, Android. There
Android.
you go.
Android. Oh, there you go. Sir Siebert, go.
Mhm. Android
I don't
supremacy.
even
There
know
you
that.
go. Mhm.
I don't even know that.
Very basic
All right,
intro.
there you go.
Okay. All right. So that's my first game. We'll pass it off to the
Hmm.
next
Any
panelist.
any questions or any impressions in regarding with Sir Joel's game?
Mhm. It's about as basic and as generic as you can possibly get in terms
Tearing
of
Saga for
SRPG.
PS1.
Hmm.
Yeah. It looks like Fire Emblem on the Nintendo Game Boy Advance.
Yes.
Very
Oh,
basic.
yeah.
You have
I did
just
check the
the 2D
Wikipedia
sprites.
entry about it. Yeah. So
Mhm.
so they did say that it's a spin-off of Fire. It is a spin-off of Fire Emblem.
Mhm.
Looking at the game, it doesn't look like a PS1 game. It looks like
Mhm.
Oh,
an
Game Boy
SNES.
Advance.
Yeah, Game Boy
Well,
Advance, SNES.
yeah.
Yeah, it's that thing. Do we have Fire Emblem? Mommy, let me get Fire Emblem here in the store. No, we have Fire Emblem at home. Yeah, and you get Tearing Saga.
This-
That's it.
You'll get your Saga. It's from the same developer.
Yeah.
I'm only familiar with with the sequel on the PS3 sequel of it, Tearing, uh, the second one, the Tearing Saga
Mhm.
sequel. And I'm not even familiar with the first game, and luckily, and there was an English patch of it, an English fan translation of it. Good for you guys who haven't really heard of it. At least you can play it in English now.
Mhm.
So let's head to another one. Let's go with Miss I. Miss I, what is your strategy role playing game of choice for the evening?
For my first choice, I think this could also appeal to Sir Siebert because this is kind of cartoony or maybe even serious players. My choice would be Mega Man Battle Network on
Oh,
the
there you
Game
go.
Boy Advance. Yeah, so this was
Which
released
one?
in
Number one?
2001. Yes, the first game.
The first
So
one.
this was on the Game Boy Advance by Capcom, of course. For anybody interested, this is also available on Steam, but as a bundle with other Mega Man Battle Network games. So the story of this game is you're set in an alternate reality in 21st century where everyone depends on the nets or the internet or networks. And you can enter the internet by jacking into certain ports into the world. Right there, you go into the nets as a net navi or net navigator. Your main character Lan, his net navigator is Mega Man in this case. So what drew me to this game is actually, like most of you know already, the art style of the game. I love the classic Capcom art style, and of course it's Mega Man. What I like about this is it's not your typical strategy game because you can actually move your character on the game board. So you can see that there are tiles. You can actually use the directional pads to evade your enemies. But the turn-based factor here is you have several chips that you can use. So consider it like a card game of some sort, but you have chips instead. So let me see in the video. So those are the chips. You get one or two depending on the combination that you have, and that's the turn-based aspect of it. There is a timer up there of when you can choose your next chips. So the tactics here is when to attack, what attack you will use, which enemies, and basically the positioning is one of the most important aspects here because there's not really, let's say, there's not really much you can do aside from evade when you have no turn left. Well, at least you can move. This is also what appeals to me is because this is a real-time strategy RPG, if that makes sense. So I'm not sure if there are any other RPGs like it. What I like about this game is that there's nice tunes and sounds if you get to play it. There's also an Easter egg there. It's not on that, but because a fan will know the Easter eggs if you find it. What's good in this game is you can move, like I said earlier, you can move on the battle grid. So you can evade your enemies even if you have no turn left. And you can still attack actually, even if you have used up your chips. There are different tile placements of both Mega Man and the enemies. And the strategy here is you will actually be forced to use all of those chips there. Even if you have your preferences, you will be forced to strategize and use the different attacks there that you have. What I don't like in this game is so those, if you can see the letters there, A and on the lower left corner of each chip, it doesn't really explain to you what those chips are. So I read the manual. It doesn't really say what those mean, but you just have to group your chips with the same letters or the same types of attacks. And what else? If you move on the main map, you can actually walk here compared to the typical strategy RPG where you just have the exploration part covered in this game. So you can encounter enemies on the map or in the town, and I hate that there is actually no repel because you can't just escape out of your own volition. You need to have the escape chip as well. So there's no escaping in this. But I guess most SRPGs don't really escape, right? So you will also lose your chips and your chance to attack if the enemy attacks you first. So that's also a downside of it. The strategies I use in this game is you have to think whether you're going to use the short or long range attacks because it depends on the placement of the enemy and your enemy. I think that one is a boss, the one that we just saw there. Yeah, it's Fireman there. So the classic Mega Man bosses are here in different, let's say, iterations. So that's also like an Easter egg of some sort. And another strategy I use here is as much as you can, use the same chips of the same type or the same letters, same codes. And the faster you beat the enemy, the better, because you get better rewards at the end. So I'm not sure if anybody else has played this game. You see there that you can explore it, unlike the usual um, choosing, I guess, options on the map.
I was able to play this before on an emulator. I only got to, I haven't I didn't really finish the game, like maybe almost at the last dungeon, but considering the footage that we're showing right now, so you have Mega Man have 9 squares to move on to. Your enemy also has 9,
Yes.
and if you have the right cards, you might be able to steal 3 more squares from the enemy, making him move more limitedly.
Yes. And you can
So
actually
by-
do melee attacks with that.
right. So by increasing your squares, you can move a little bit further to the map. Right. Mm,
Yes.
right. Any questions or impressions, gentlemen, about Miss Ice game?
Um,
Not your
I
typical SRPG right there.
Yeah, and I was actually surprised that this was the game that she was gonna be talking about. But to answer her question, she was asking if there is a game that's like this. There's a game called One Step from Eden. Exactly the same gameplay. She might want to check it out if she's a big fan of the gameplay of Rockman.exe. Um, and based on what Miss Ein has said, so yeah, it could be considered as a tactic RPG because you are using your tactics. It's just that it's more on real time, and you're just controlling a single avatar character, whatever we may want to call it. And it just got caught me off the red field. And I love the game. I love this. I love the series. I love Rockman, and it's just some things it's just based on interpretate on our interpretation and our experience. And I do see her point that she sees this as a tactical RPG. It's just that it caught me left field because I'm so used to a tactic game having the map, but this um, it's just that maybe I did not associate the game as an SRPG. When I played it, I associated it as more of a card based real time action battle system that's a regular JRPG. Well, that's just me. I'm not stepping on what Miss Ein is interpreting it as. So just really caught me by surprise. So yeah, if you really like the system, please do check one step from Eden. Almost the same exact gameplay, just without Rockman.
But thank you
All
for
right.
that uh, recommendation. I'm looking it up in another window.
All
I
right. Thanks
I
for
like
that.
this. I like this game than the original platformer game.
It's a lot easier,
Because,
right?
maybe because I'm a schmuck at playing Mega Man games. Because I like the Mega Man Legends and this one. I played this around, I guess, 2004, and I like this better than the original Mega Man Rockman series.
All right. Thanks for that, Miss I,
And
Sir Drew, and Sir JDM. Let's move on to the next one.
Let me just make two
Oh,
observations about it, Joe.
yeah.
One, my first observation about it is the game, the card gameplay does remind me a little bit of Metal Gear Acid. If anybody remembers playing
Oh,
that
that
game.
game.
Or JDM, eh?
Yeah, Metal Gear Acid, where you have cards. JDM's experiencing traumatic flashbacks right now. Okay, because JDM is our resident Metal Gear Solid fanatic. So yes, Metal Gear Acid. It does remind me a little bit of that. The fact that the moves are based on cards, the attacks are based on the cards that you draw, and everything. That kind of reminds me of it with Mega Man Battle Network. And the second thing is, I do believe there is an anime of this. I think I
Yeah.
searches for to watch. I was wondering how close it was to the game storyline to the anime. I'll probably have to do a little bit of research on that. If anybody knows how close the storyline of the anime is to the video game, please let us know in the chat. So that I don't have to worry about my terrible reflexes and gameplay affecting my enjoyment of the storyline. Okay, all right, back to you, Joe.
All right. There is an anime of this, I believe. Yeah.
Mhm.
I haven't watched it yet though. All right. Thank you for that, Sir Joe. Let's move on to the next one. How about the one sitting over there in the corner, being quiet? How about Sir Jomar?
Okay.
What's the strategy role playing game of choice, Sir Jomar?
So before I start, I have a side comment for Ice game. So I was just watching the game, and then I just realized that maybe this is where the writers of Wreck-It Ralph got the idea of, a game traveling through the internet.
Yeah, yeah. I
That's
mean,
a good
it
point.
kind of, yeah,
Right?
it can works. Yeah.
Yes. So
Yes,
okay.
because it's about
So
viruses.
huh?
The game is about
So
viruses. That's a good point, Sir Doma.
okay. For Sergio's question, I would actually start with I would like to start with D&D because that's my first
Oh yeah.
tactical
Mm.
um, RPG. But since I have SRW here, so I'm just gonna talk about it. Um, I don't know how I can make SRW more interesting. People know it. Everybody knows it. It's the gameplay is simple. Um,
Which
of course, it's
one?
a
What? There are 30.
well, well,
Which one?
if you check all of them, everything is the same, basically.
No, actually, that's a really
Okay.
good
How about
question.
what's your favorite installment? There you go.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah, so I'm actually getting into that. So
Mm.
I first got into SRW and even tactical RPG in games when I saw Neo SRW in Raon, because I was buying bootlegs before in Raon, and when I first got my PlayStation 1, I went to Raon, and then I was like choosing some game, and I just see a glimpse of this robot, and it was a done deal for me. So I saw Voltus 5 in Neo. I was like, oh my god, Voltus 5 in a game? I don't even have an idea on what's going on with Super Robot Wars. I haven't seen it on Game Boy or any other consoles. So um, I asked the guy to grab the CD, and then I just bought it. There you go. That's a classic. I still have the CD. I brought it here in the US. All that's my collection. I always brought it here in the US. So
Loving it.
I
Loving it right now.
yes, yes, yes. It's amazing. So the only drawback that I have is is in Japanese. And back in the days, we don't have any translator and stuff like that. We don't have anything to translate Japanese. Well, we do have I don't know if you guys remember Babel, the translator. That's the
Bubblefish.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah, Babblefish is the first translator that I ever
Uh,
encountered before. I was trying to do that on Babblefish, but it's not actually working. So what I did is I have a classmate back in college in FEU, and he's really good in Japanese because he's Japanese, Filipino Japanese. So I have him go over to my house just to translate what the game was saying. So, uh, in order for me to play the game, I had to call him. I'm not gonna be able to play the game without him. Uh, so yeah, that's my first encounter with JRPG in a game. Because Super Famicom Wars is not RPG anyways. So um, and everything was history. So SRW, if you want to get into it, if you like robots, if you like watching anime robots, this is the thing for you. Uh, I think everybody would understand uh, right off the bat what's going on, even though they will ask question regarding the dimensional earthquake. So that's easy to you know to understand, because dimensional earthquake, if that didn't happen, our super robot wars will not meet each other in any universe.
So how exactly? So let's just say for the sake of the argument, how exactly are they living on the same universe? Like, was there a portal? uh, I mean,
Well,
how is Volts Five inter? I mean, how is Volts Five interacting with the other robots? I mean, how does any robot interact with any other robot here? I
well,
mean, what?
yeah. So
Machine.
it's actually the dimensional earthquake. Up until now, there's still,
Dimensional earthquake.
yeah, for some reason, it's when you play the game, they have no idea what's going on, but everything was being caused by a dimensional earthquake, was because of a dimensional bomb that blew somewhere in the storyline, that caused every universe of the Super Robot Wars merge to each other without them knowing. Up until now, I play the PlayStation 4 Super Robot Wars, and Voltes 5 doesn't even know what's going on. Why are they on a different Earth? So it's
Look,
been how many years? It's
if
been 3 decades.
if I can interrupt Jomar on this, I never thought I would say something like this as a plot based guy. But who the fuck cares about the plot when it comes to Super Robot Wars? We're talking about the
Yeah, of
coolest
course.
things, the coolest robots ever that you ever played with as a kid,
Yeah,
imagining how they would interact with each other. And this game allows you to actually see it. Your favorite super
yeah.
robots interact with each other. Who the hell cares
Crossover.
how it
I,
happened?
just
I
what I
would
said, Tito
care.
Joel.
I would.
Just,
I
just what
would
I
care.
said, Tito Joel. You know what? When I
And
saw that on the
Mm,
display case, I
mhm.
just saw my eyes are like a horse with
Yeah,
what you call that.
the
I'm just
fighters.
seeing Voltes 5 right here.
Yes,
So
Tunnel,
exactly.
tunnel vision.
yeah,
Mm,
I was tunnel vision on Voltes
mhm.
5. Did not even notice the other robots until I grabbed the CD and then saw,
Ah,
what the
okay.
hell? Did Mazinger Z is also here, and
Yes,
then Gundam is also here. Oh my god!
yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
going crazy in that store.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The fact is, as a kid, all of these series that you used to watch on TV, you had a favorite one, but then again, you had a
Yeah,
second favorite one. You always thought, what would happen if my two favorite robots clash with each other, and then
exactly.
later on work with each other? The fact is, sometimes you don't even have to worry about the plot. The fact is, the idea that they would work with each other against an enemy would be so mind blowing already that you don't care
Uh-huh.
about anything
um,
else. So I guess that's the
well,
that's the conceit of Super Robot
I
Wars.
will have a follow-up question on this.
Yeah.
Because with all throughout the gameplay footage that I have seen in regarding with the Super Robot Wars franchise, the game is called Super Robot Wars. Are
Mhm.
they actually fighting each other, or are they just fighting a common enemy?
Well, to answer you the question is like, for example, here in the
Mhm.
PlayStation 4, right? Uh, when um, when Voltus 5 merged to the universe of uh, Combattler 5, they actually
Yeah.
almost fought, but
Ooh,
they're yeah.
almost.
So because they don't know each other. Um, it also happened in Neo.
Oh,
were
really?
some, yeah,
They didn't saw each other. Hey, you rip off. Who are you calling a rip off? You're the rip
yes,
off.
actually, that's the one that Combattler Fight was saying. You're a rip off of our robot and us. So, I don't know.
Filipinos would say the complete opposite. Combattler would be the ripoff there.
Well, you know. So yes, because it's Super Robot Wars, even their enemies are super robots.
Mhm.
If the hero super robots merge to each other, so it it also happened to the villains.
Mm. So all the villains become a generalized enemy force against the heroic robots in Super
Hmm.
Robot Wars. Is that it? I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the funny thing is, it, Voltage 5 is fighting Mazinger Z's,
Mhm.
enemy or whoever.
I mean, you as a kid, you'd always wonder how would Voltus 5 fare against Dr. Hell's forces, or how would Mazinger Z fare against the Bosanians? Yeah, it would.
Hmm.
It's like you don't have to delve too deep into the plot of Super Robot Wars. It's more of a case, a game about what ifs. What
Yeah.
if this
Mm.
robot went against that robot, or what if that robot went against that enemy? Would they stand a chance? And it's just cool. It's just plain cool. The fact is, that's the conceit of Super Robot Wars, from my understanding, that you don't have to worry about how the storyline is.
Yeah.
You just enjoy how cool it is. That's it.
It's like a dream team.
Yes,
Uh, yeah,
exactly. Like in basketball, like the Harlem
yeah,
Globetrotters or the All American basketball stars, they all
yeah,
play together. You root for them.
yeah. And then everything followed suit because with the fighting games, you have Marvel versus
Oh
Capcom, you
yes,
have
there's that.
Capcom versus SNK, right?
Agreed,
I think
agreed.
this is one of the reasons why we have crossovers right now.
Hey, crossovers are big. I mean, there's a reason why the Avengers is one of the biggest films of all time.
Yeah.
In regarding with
And
Voltes
also that's
5,
the
so
reason why
let's just say we're doing the Voltes 5 scenario here. Do you
Mhm.
start with all of Voltes 5's arsenal or just a few?
Oh, that's a good question, Jomar.
Well, yes. So it depends on which series are you playing, but most of the arsenals are there.
Mm.
Like everything, the whip, the
In in
top.
in 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 Neo, I saw Voltus 5's arsenals are in there, like yeah, the chain knuckles, even the small ones, the ground fire.
Okay.
Yes, everything's
Show
there.
of hands. Every panel here, say one Voltes 5 arsenal. Go. Sir Drew.
yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
Shout it.
I
Shout it. Shout it.
ultramagnetic sword matic.
Sir JDM. Shout it. Shout it.
Electromagnetic yo-yo.
Miss Hino.
Mm.
I don't know the name of the belt. The belt.
Oh, the belt. Yeah, there
And
you
the
go.
belt becomes
Oh, how about Miss I?
I only know electromagnetic top. Mm.
Mm.
Sir Joel.
Chain knuckle.
Oh, yeah. There's that.
All right.
if it was
My God.
Dimos, I could shout double blizzard.
Oh yeah, double
Hang
Yeah,
on.
blizzard.
Dimos is also
It,
there. Yes,
is
Dimos is
Dimos is
also
also
there.
is
there.
Gundam
Yeah.
in Super Robot Wars?
Yes.
But it's not Super Robot.
Which one?
Okay,
Which
let's
Gundam?
let's not.
Well,
Which Gundam is there? Because
Solo
it's
Gundam.
real robot, right?
Mm-mm.
All
Uh,
of them.
all of them.
All of
yes.
All
So
of them.
Never mind. Let's not get into the Super Robot versus real robot debate.
Uh, I know what's going on in your head right
but
now.
that's the funny thing. Gundam is always the resident super robot in all of those super robot, which is those are real robots, right?
Hmm. So what you're saying, Jomar, is that Gundam is the commonality of all of them. No.
I would let uh Ma'am Inu answer this because she was itching to say something.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Miss Inu.
Because there is this debate in the mecha fandom wherein you have here the more realistic robots, the Gundams. I guess you can add in the robots in like Escaflowne or Code Geass, and then there's the super robots, the one with the fantastical attacks. Like we have the Voltes Fives, the Dimoses, and yeah, it's just debate about the super robot with superpowers versus the more realistic robot. So since it's called Super Robot Wars,
Hmm.
why is there a Gundam in it? But maybe it's just a catchy title. That's because
I guess the crossover kind of adjusted their power level so that they're not overwhelming the Gundams, because normally Mazinger Z would kick everybody's ass. And yeah, I
Oh,
mean, no, I mean, if you've seen Mazinger Z
wait,
Infinity,
wait.
I mean, if
You
you've seen Mazinger Z Infinity, he goes up against an entire army of I don't know what those are called, beast monsters, shall we say, and he comes out relatively unscathed. The only thing that was able to kick his ass was another Mazinger, which is the Infinity Mazinger. So it's a valid argument that the realistic robots might not fare well against super robots, but yeah, I'm
All
imagining
right.
power level adjustments are there. Mhm.
So you heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. Mazinger Z is
Mhm.
beyond compare. Every
Mhm.
other robot ain't shit.
I mean, I would say, popularity wise, Mazinger
Not
Z is
even
still
Grandizer.
Those are brothers basically. Mazinger Z and Grandizer are created by the same by the same guy, so you don't know which the creator would favor. But I'm imagining, since Mazinger Z came out first, he's probably gonna kick Grandizer's ass. So we're talking about Super Robot Wars here already. That's gonna be for another episode, ladies and gentlemen. All
well,
right,
yes.
please continue. Yeah, please continue, Jomar. Yes, go ahead.
No, yeah, that's fine, Tito Joel. Yeah, you have a point there, but
Mhm.
if there will come a like a universe that Mazinger Z will fight a super robot wars or a real
Mhm.
robot, I think
Mhm.
Mazinger Z will not stand a chance on a Gundam. But I love
Mm.
Mazinger Z.
Aha. Okay.
I love
Eh,
Mazinger Z, but it depends on because a Gundam, as you see on Super Robot War,
mhm.
they're built different. On no Gundam is the same by on each other. So they have their own
Ah.
weapons and then weaponry and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Miss Miss Ino would like to say something.
Yeah, go ahead, Miss Hino. Oh, okay, okay, go ahead.
it depends on which Gundam. But let's not go
Yes.
off into that tangent. I'm
Oh yeah,
sorry.
I know. Yes,
Oh,
I know. Yes.
so that's another potential topic that we will
Yeah.
invite you
Okay.
later.
Although, yeah, that's basically it. I'm imagining this is the main appeal of Super Robot Wars for Jomar and for a lot of people who play it. The fact that you can use all these what if scenarios, like what if this robot goes against that robot, what if this robot goes against that enemy, how would it fare, who's better, who's worse, does your dream team stack up against the reality of it as programmed by the programmers. So it's a nice concept, and I'd
Yes.
really love to get into it. I would say more, I would agree with Drew on this, that this is a little bit better of an intro to people who have no idea what SRPGs are, as opposed to this Gaia.
Yeah.
I would ask another follow up question
Mm,
in regarding with this game to Sir Jomar. So out of all of the installments, we have 30 as of the for at the moment, right? Um, for those people who are novices or or beginners in regarding with strategy role playing games, but also like this kind of super robot wars genre. They like this one. I mean, just the aesthetic of it, the looks of it, the anime cutscenes of it. Among the 30, what would be the easiest title that they can get into so they won't get too overwhelmed
Uh, well,
in
it's not.
English?
Uh, actually, it's not the easy. The question is not the easiest. Every Super Robot Wars is for me it's actually I've not played those all of the Super Robot Wars, but I've played most of them. For me, everything is actually the same. It will whatever series that you wanted to start with, um, it will fit for a novice a gamer for tactical RPG. I would say if they want the question, if they want to go deep to the Super Robot War, they have to go back, way back. uh, if not, if they just wanted the game, and then they just, because it's robot, and then they're happy to see robots fighting, or they wanted to start with tactical RPG, then I would say just start with the one in PlayStation 4, or the one, oh, you know what, there's a Super Robot War that only released in Asia. It's in mobile.
Oh,
uh, yes, it first released only in Japan, but it was released in Asia, and Voltif 5 is also in there. I forgot the name, something Super Robot, something F or something.
Super
I totally
Robot
forgot that.
Wars Mobile.
Yeah, so
Super Robot.
yeah, so
Super
there's,
Robot
I
Wars
think there's
Mobile.
only one. There's only one Super Robot Wars in a mobile, that Voltis 5 is also in there. um yeah, they should start with that first, and then see if that will work with them, if the gameplay would work with them, because I'm pretty sure the the game itself, they will love
To
it.
be on,
It's
to
just
be
the
honest,
gameplay.
the only Super Robot Wars game that I bought was only because I saw the gameplay of it and the cover.
Yeah.
And Miss Hinu and Sir Drew might know this one. It's because I saw Ray Earth. Ray Earth was dead front and center. Super Robot Wars T. I got that for the
Oh, super,
PlayStation 4
okay, yeah.
from PlayAsia. Only because of Magic Knight Ray Earth. I'm like, I'm getting this game. I love Voltus 5, don't get me wrong, but Magic
Hmm.
Knight Ray Earth, come on.
Yeah.
90s kids, where you at?
Yeah,
Oh, there's also a
actually,
Super Robot Wars now in Steam, by the way, the new one.
I think Drew has something to
yeah.
say.
Yeah, yeah, go
Um,
ahead.
when it comes to Super Robot Wars, the entry, the game that you should enter with is the one where your favorite mech is featured on it.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Just a personal opinion, because that way you already have a personal attachment to
that's
the
right.
series, to, or rather to the game, so that you would be able to enjoy it more, because your favorite super robot is in that particular game. Because not all entries have the same well, besides not, I don't think even Mazinger is featured on each and every game. And
Nope.
Mm.
Yeah.
so just check out which of these games has your favorite mech on it. Me personally, I forgot which game Bandred was featured on, but that's my
Red?
favorite mech
Really?
series. Yeah.
All
Yeah,
three.
because
All three forms of Bandred.
yeah. I
Jura,
forgot
Dita,
which one is it was, but yeah, for
most
me,
likely Dita.
which one?
Bandred
Yeah.
Dita.
Uh, I think Bro Joe is a little bit excited, because I think
I'm
he
gonna look that
likes
up.
Bandred for the
I like
exact same
Bandred
reasons.
because of, because I'm a man of culture.
Yes, we are the same. Yeah.
You
Anyway,
got
so
Dita, Maya, and Jura.
that's my opinion on which SRW somebody should
I'm
start
gonna
with.
look that up right now. Super World War with Bandred. All right.
Yeah,
Any
exactly. Well said. So you start off with your robot, the robot that you like, but there's a piece of advice. Don't level up or gear only your robot, your favorite robot. It will mess you up. I learned that the hard way.
Oh, so you
Okay.
need to level. So you need to level them up equally
Yeah,
then.
you have to gear them evenly on depending on your play style. It depends on the use case, actually.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, are you allowed to choose your own team of robots, or it's just a storyline will just give whatever?
So yes, you're allowed to, but also with the storyline, because some storyline it will remove your robot from the roster.
Ah,
And then you're left with your weak ass, second
It's
string.
Yes, it's
right.
always like this. There's a mothership that you can
Mhm.
always go back to, and then at the beginning of the gameplay,
Mhm.
you'll choose a roster for your who's gonna fight, and then you're gonna be placing them whatever you like depending on your tactics.
Okay.
Right.
First things first, though, I'd like to acknowledge Christ John Esagunde on the chats. He says, I have a cartridge of Legendary Starfy 2 and my cousin they buy in Japan since. And we have a song in Plaka, a Voltis 5 Tagalog version. That was very popular, Voltis 5 and Mazinger Z in Plaka. I agree. You know, yun yung mga kapanahunan ko. There, we had the large records and the small ones of the soundtrack of Voltus 5 and Mazinger Z. And of course, you know, the ending theme song. Who could possibly forget, you know, the ending theme song of Voltus 5, and everybody would sing to it. And, you know, yeah. All right,
Oh, yeah.
back to you, Jomar.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
think yes, that's all.
Okay. It's again, it's the central conceit of Super Robot Wars that your favorite robots can be there, fight off against your other favorite robots, and you just and like Drew says, find the one where your favorite robot is in,
Yes.
and enjoy the heck out of it, and then maybe you'll get into the other ones too.
All right. Thank you for that, Sir Jomar. If anybody else would like to share their inputs before we move to the next one. Uh,
I want to say
yeah.
the
Hi,
robots
go.
look cute. I think the robots look cute because they decided to go the SD route on the designs here.
The super
Yeah,
deformed chibi style,
the
you know.
chibi
Yeah,
style.
they're so cute.
I think on the SNES one and the PS1, PS2, they were a little bit chibified. It's
Mhm.
not only until they went PS3, PS4, they went full mecha.
Oh.
Mm.
Mm.
Oh,
And graphical
I'm
limitations
sorry.
and all that.
I'm sorry to intrude. You were giving Sir Siebert some tactical RPG for horror games, right? I just
Yeah,
remembered something. I just wanna get this out. So
yeah,
if
yeah.
Mm.
for kids, because for kids naman is you have you can try Marvel Midnight Suns. I just remembered.
Midnight
What?
Suns. Okay,
Yeah.
I think I saw that being on sale this past Black Friday. I
The
have to
new
check that
Marvel
out.
game?
Yes.
Well,
Hmm.
Strategy RPG?
it's
Really?
been a it's been a
Interesting.
while. It's been out for a while. It's like it's a tactical game, and then you use cards.
Mm, okay.
Ah, right.
But
Well,
there's also placing. You know, you have to
mm,
also place
Right, right.
there's
characters.
JDM's nightmare again. Okay.
I thought it was a card game.
I
Mm.
It's
like
a
playing
tactical
cards.
RPG.
All right. Thank you for that, Sir Jomar and everybody. We will move to the next one. Let's try Miss Hino this time. Miss Hino, what's your first game for this evening?
So something common about the games that I have with me is that both of them are handheld strategy RPGs, and that both of them are spin-offs. Um, because normally how I tackle games is that I play them by the year I bought them. So if I'm working on the 2021 backlog, I play through all of the games in the 2021 backlog.
Smart.
So both of these games are from my 2021 backlog, which I'm not finished yet with. So here we are. So the first game that we have here might be familiar to the others, but I don't think a lot of people have played it compared to its mainline series. And the first one is Valkyrie Profile Covenant of the Plume for the Nintendo DS. So this was a game developed by TriAce, and it was published by Square Enix. When I first told people that I was gonna play this game, they had one common comment or advice to me, and is that they told me that it is the most difficult Valkyrie profile game, and perhaps maybe one of the more difficult strategy RPGs. So
Oh
I was
wow.
like, okay, I don't really play strategy RPGs because I'm stupid. And then I'm going in head first to this one. So I was like, okay, let's see how I'm gonna fare. Let me tell you guys more about the plot of the game. So you follow this character called Wilfred. his father was a warrior who died in battle. So his father became an Eisenhower. Basically, since we're talking about Valkyrie profile, we're following in with the Norse mythology, wherein fallen warriors can be taken by the mythical angels of sorts, the Valkyries, and they can go to their heaven and they can fight in Ragnarok, or like the final war in their mythology. So the main character, Wilfred, he's actually angry to this Valkyrie who took his father's soul and sent him off to Valhalla to fight the Ragnarok, or the war. So his goal is to seek vengeance and kill the Valkyrie that took his father away from him. And what I like about this game is that it's actually dark. You don't really play as a good guy. You play as someone who's very gray and leaning more onto the dark side. You can also say that he's somewhat of an anti-hero because since he doesn't like the Valkyries, he teams up with its counterpart, the Mistress of Hell. And the Mistress of Hell gives him this capability wherein if he needs to power up his party members, he needs to use the feather or the plume. And once he uses it, he powers up a certain party member. That party member is going to be so OP that party member can alone wipe out the entire army in the map. But in exchange of that, that party member is going to die. They're going to
Oh.
have permadeath. You're never going to use them again after that battle. They're really dead.
Oh.
So it's really hardcore. It's I think this is the first time that I played a game like this that is more on the darker side. And what else? So let's go to the good and bad of the game. As mentioned earlier, a lot of people are saying that this is the most difficult entry to the Valkyrie profile game. So I wouldn't suggest that this be the entry point of people to SRPGs or Valkyrie profile in general, and I learned it the hard way. But once you get used to the gameplay, it's actually very addictive. And since we're talking about something that's by Tri-Ace and Square Enix, the graphics are gorgeous. We have some beautiful 2D sprites, and we have the usual beautiful 3D cutscenes made by Tri-Ace and Square Enix. And what else? We have these fun combos. You discover that you can pair up with certain party members. And for example, I have party member A. Wilfred and party member A, if you like put them aside one another, they can perform the special attack. Or if you have a pincer move with party member B, there's a different attack. So it lets you organically discover new moves and new ways of fighting your foes and inflicting more damage. What else? What else? The game also has branching narratives, which I really, really appreciate. And what I mean by that is, since I mentioned that we're following an anti-hero of sorts, you can actually play the game by killing all of your party members.
Hmm.
You can finish the game going that route. You sacrifice everyone just for revenge, and then you'll get this ending. But if there are three endings: the bad, the good, and the perfect ending. So the bad ending, that is the evil route. The good ending is wherein you sacrifice maybe two or three of your party members. And the perfect ending, of course, is you don't sacrifice anyone at
Right.
all.
Oh.
So it's really difficult because there are certain story events wherein you need to fight battles back to back. And you don't get to replenish your stocks, you don't get to heal your characters. No matter what your HP is in the first battle, you carry it over the next one. And of course, since we're talking about the strategy RPGs, sometimes each battle has a condition. Like, you can only move 2 tiles. If you move more than 3 tiles before attacking someone, and then you don't get the bonus and whatever. So it depends on no matter how OCD a person if they want to check all those bonus like what they call this instructions. If you accomplish them, you get higher rewards, higher money, and yeah, if you just want to have more of a challenge, even though the game is stupidly difficult already, I actually got the bad ending at first because I was like, "Ooh, I can kill my party members. That's new. Let me kill everyone. Let's see what's gonna happen." And then I got the bad ending. So, and then I realized I need to play this all over again. As someone who doesn't play tactics RPGs that much, so it was horrible. Let's go to the downside. Um, I'm gonna say do not compare this game to its predecessors because it's a completely. I would say it's set in a different perspective. Normally, when you play Valkyrie profile games, you play as the Valkyries.
Yes.
You gather the fallen warriors so that you'll have enough recruits and soldiers to fight with you in the Battle of Ragnarok. But here, you're seeing the other side, the flip side. You're looking into the point of view of a human whose family has died because of the Valkyries. You're seeing the subsequent events or the effects of what these Valkyries are doing, and you're seeing what's going on in the world from a different perspective. So, I guess the other downside I'm gonna say is since this game was released in the Nintendo DS, it's not as accessible to the general uh, gamer uh, landscape, but you can always go the Yar Har Har Seven Seas route if you know what I mean. So, because as far as I know, this game hasn't been ported to any other console, unlike its predecessor, that the PS1 game.
Yes.
I think it's
Yeah.
available online, so you can play it at
Yeah.
the more modern iterations of the consoles. But this one, yeah, just sail the seven seas, and to those looking for a challenge, this is something that I would recommend with caution. Strategy, I don't have any strategy. I was banging my head on the wall. It's difficult. I'm looking at YouTube. I'm looking at the old game facts boards. I'm repeating some battles for multiple days, and I think I finished the game at around 30 to 40 hours. So it's not for the faint-hearted. It's not an entry game for those new to RPGs. And yeah, I guess that's all that I would have to say for Valkyrie Profile Covenant of the Plume that was released on the Nintendo DS.
DS. Let's see that again. Let's see that again, Miss Hino. What you got there? Let's see the game.
Valkyrie,
Woo!
Valkyrie Profile Covenant of the Plume for the Nintendo DS.
How much did that set you set you back? How much is it?
Actually, I would say it's one of the cheaper Valkyrie Profile games aside from the latest iteration, the Elysium. This is one of the cheaper ones because we all know that the PS1 is woo grail, and then
Oh yeah.
the PS2 is kind of up there as well. But this is actually affordable. But it's just that I know that a lot of gamers didn't really have the DS as compared to right now. A lot of people has the Switch, right? So, but yeah, you get it for cheap physically, or you go yar har 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 mode.
So I played both. So I played Valkyrie Profile 1 and 2. So you did mention. So this is rather a spin off from the main series.
Yep.
Um, so you did mention that the main guy is angry with one of the Valkyries because we got three. We got Lenneth, we got Silmeria, and we got Thrist. Who's the Valkyrie that he's angry with? Did he
Lenneth,
mention? Oh,
he
Lenneth.
hates Lenneth.
Lenneth. Okay. So
The
among of
first,
those characters that Lenneth took from the first game, what who was the character that his
I
dad
think
was?
I think they were trying
Not
to make it
Arngrim.
more accessible. So
Right.
I don't think that the father of the main character is someone who we recruited in the game.
Oh, right. Okay. Because well, I'm just trying to create a headcanon
Yeah,
why
yeah.
he's angry in the first place. Would have been nice, like if this was the bastard child of Arngrim, maybe, right? But hey, in regarding with the gameplay, as you mentioned, quite unique. So there's the plume, right? So whoever gets the plume gets all of the hyper powers. But oh, yeah, for exchange is him. They gonna die. um, did it ever occur to you to use the plume in any situation, or you just want to make sure that everyone's alive? So you're sacrificing more time on making sure they're alive rather than using the plume.
It, I don't, since the concept of killing someone intentionally in your party was so foreign and so new to me. On my first playthrough, I just went ahead and killed all of my recruited party members just to see what's gonna happen. I mean,
What's
I
gonna
mentioned
happen?
I'm stupid. I don't play this. I play strategy RPGs with the tactic brute force in mind
Right,
and
right.
brute force only. So it's like, oh, this is gonna make things very, very easy for me. I can finish this game using only one character per battle, and then I got the bad ending. So
So Joel, what seems to me, Miss Hino didn't read the manual.
Well, the fact is, it's for I understand her thought process. Miss Hinu, this isn't her genre of choice. So she saw a way to play it the way that she would normally play other games. If it seems to be the way to do it quickly and easily, let's do that. And it bit her in the ass. So I guess I can follow her thought process and I completely understand it. But what you actually said, Joe, earlier was something that I'll have to toss in. SRPGs. Well, I completely forgot to mention this in the earlier part. I wish all SRPGs had a lore map included every time that you bought it. So like if you bought an SRPG, that you would have a map of which kingdom relates to where, which other kingdom,
Right.
what its motivation is, who the main players of each kingdom is, and how they relate to the storyline. Because it's one thing about SRPGs I've observed the complexity of relationships per character, per kingdom, and everything. It kind of doesn't derail it. It would be a wonderful way thing to get into. It's just a little hard to get into from especially from a beginner like me. It's the complexities of political plotting are really hard to grasp from the very beginning. So that's my wish about SRPGs. Anyways,
well,
Well,
if
yeah.
I was gonna give you a good news about this game, is that it has like a
mhm.
compendium or whatnot or a log
Oh,
of the
okay.
events which are the warring factions or which happened in the previous chapter.
There's an
Oh,
So
encyclopedia.
yes,
Wonderful.
I do agree with you that it would be really handy for the
yes.
users, not just the casual ones, but also the people who are more used to this genre to have like a guide
Hmm.
just to keep track of things. And
Yes.
what do you call this? Another thing I forgot to mention this in our earlier question. How do you differentiate an strategy RPG to
Hmm.
a JRPG? Is that normally in a JRPG you only care about maybe 5 characters, 6 characters. Those people are always in your party.
Hmm.
But when it comes to the strategy RPGs, normally you are controlling basically armies because it's normally a fight between maybe 2 warring nations, 2 warring states.
Hmm.
So a lot of the of the troops that you control, they have no name. Maybe
Mm,
they're just Archer A, Archer B. So you don't necessarily have this attachment to them. Sure, you can customize them, but you don't necessarily have this attachment because the story is very complex enough as it is. And having to name all of those characters in the field, what if there's 50 on your end, 50 on the on your enemy's end, right? And how do you keep up with everyone? How do you
mm,
remember everyone? Then there's this intrigue, political intrigue, and then there's a side quest. So yeah,
right.
a guide would really
Mhm.
be nice in
Yeah.
further installations.
Well, Miss Hino's description of it actually reminds me of the old box sets of Dungeons and Dragons. Jomar might remember all these. You know how Dungeons and Dragons used to come in boxed sets,
Mhm,
where the basic Dungeons and Dragons you have the red set. You would be
mhm,
playing characters from level 1 to 5 or something like that, and all the way up to
Mm.
level 60. The box set, the blue box set, would be like you would be controlling armies already, and you would be fighting gods. I guess that's one thing. Jomar would see this as as a way to kind of translate that, as strategy RPGs are at that level where you're at the blue box set already, where you're playing with armies and possibly later on battling giant kingdoms, shall we say, with your army. But yeah, I digress. That
yes.
that that's Miss Hino's choice. Any comments, guys?
I have a question for Missino.
Yeah,
Um, since this is on the DS, what can you do with the touch screen on this game?
actually, I don't use the touchscreen much because what I noticed from DS games is not all developers utilize the double screen function. Not all of them utilizes the touch function. So mostly I just use the D pad as well as the XYAB button. So it's not going to be a problem if you're going the seven C's route. You can play this easily since you can just use the normal button controls. So I don't remember anything that's very gimmicky when it comes to the touchscreen. So it won't be a problem for those people who wants to maybe play the game in different platforms or means.
I think
Thank you. I
the
thought it was
the
gonna be hard.
I think
Yeah,
what it looked like on the double screen is on the right side. So the gameplay was down there, and then some stats are on the top screen, right?
yeah, something like that, or maybe it's the map that's on the top
Uh-huh.
part of the screen. But yeah, they didn't really made it that gimmicky since the game is already complex in itself. So adding more
Mhm.
complexity to it would set the bar higher for people who want to go into the game.
So there's no really a reason to put this on a DS though. So you can just put this on a PSP. What the hell? The top screen is useless.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can say that
Also,
actually.
the Miss Hino does make a great point on this one. The fact is, a lot of these games might not necessarily use the second touchscreen. It would make for easy porting onto the Nintendo Switch in the future. Hint, Nintendo,
Yes.
you've got a great back library there. Make use of it.
Yeah.
If you look
It's
at the
If
game,
they
easier.
would,
like
if they would release like a collection of Valkyria
uh,
profile games on the Switch, right?
Hmm. Yeah, GDM, you
It's
were about to
really
say.
it looks like Final Fantasy Tactics A2. Fantasy
A2.
yeah,
Tactics.
A2.
I think it
but
it
it's
they they just did this like Fantasy Tactics style to capitalize the success of A2
yeah.
because
I
A2 came out on 2007. Then I read that this came out a year later or 2 years later.
yeah.
So they like integrated the tactics and the uh in the gameplay of the first game where you press the buttons, right, to do the
Yes,
attacks. Yeah.
yes. I do agree. I think since they have this winning formula already with Final Fantasy Tactics 8, I mean, why not just use the same engine and create a game for a known franchise such as Valkyrie
Yeah.
Profile, so that people wouldn't be too daunted. It's something kind of familiar, but yeah, don't get me wrong, the complexity of A2 versus Covenant of the Plume is way on the opposite sides of the scale.
All right. So one last question for me. So that guy who is blinking red, does that mean he has the plume?
Yeah,
Why is he blinking
that's
red?
that's the person who's gonna die later on.
Oh. So
I
we
guess
are
it's just an if we're
so for the
gonna
people.
talk UX wise, since the
Yeah.
map there's so many characters, I guess they just made the character red just so you would know who's the heavy hitter among your ranks and file, and just so you
Right.
know that that person's gonna die at the end of the battle.
After the battle. Right. So for those people who are just listening in, we are showing some gameplay footage of Valkyrie Profile Covenant of the Plume, and based on Miss Hinu's description of who has the plume and who's going to die, there's one of the party members is blinking red, and according to her, he gonna die.
He gonna die indeed.
He gonna die. All right. And if anybody else would like to comment on this game, we can probably move on to the next one. Let's go. Thanks for your first game, Miss Hinu, and thank you everyone
Thank
for
you.
your inputs. Let's go to Sir Drew, and then after Sir Drew, we'll do Sir JDM last. Sir Drew, what's your strategy role playing game for the evening?
I'm gonna start off, and I do think that I'm not gonna get to the second game because of how long this is gonna take, and my
No, that's fine.
this is
We're we're
actually
we're prepared for it.
okay. Okay,
We know
so
it's gonna be like this.
I'm actually gonna go into a little bit of a personal backstory before I get into the introduction of the game because um way back during the Super Famicom and going into the PlayStation 1 era, I do not know, have not played, or have not experienced any JRPG in my life. And like, it's something magical to me that when I see it on gaming magazine, it's more on like, what the heck kind of game this is. In my mind, I'm just trying to really imagine what type of game those are. And one of the reasons for that is I have a Super Famicom and I do not really get to play these games because they're not readily available during that time and age. And I do feel that mostly it's the rich kids who got to play the early JRPGs like Super
Sir
Mario
Joel,
RPGs.
Sir
And
Joel.
yeah, so going into the PlayStation 1 era, I was mostly playing either fighting games or platformers, Medal of Honor first person shooters on the PlayStation 1. And this particular game got me interested, or I'm not sure what piqued my interest for this, but this is my introduction to the JRPG, SRPG, and they say that your first JRPG is your favorite, and this holds true to me, and I have to really confirm this. I actually played multiple versions of this game on so many platforms just to and every time I do play this game, I really am convinced that this is my personal favorite game of all time. And the game that I'm actually talking about is Final Fantasy Tactics, as mentioned earlier. And this has been when this was a time when everybody was, I think, playing Final Fantasy 7, really enjoying the heck of it. And it is a really fine game, but for me, this really solidified my love for JRPGs and SRPGs. And it was released the same year as Final Fantasy 7 was released, so it was 1997. And the reason that got me hooked to this is I love chess. I love chess, and the gameplay was somewhat similar to chess for me. So when I tried this out, I got into the I got into the story. You start off. The story starts off with a church battle. You're not really that knowledgeable in terms of what's really happening. You go into a battle, there's this princess, you try to defend the princess, you're a mercenary. Then after the first stage, and by the way, the art style is very um pleasing for me. And I do think that Ragnarok Online copied the aesthetics of Final Fantasy Tactics. So that's also one of the reasons why I also love Ragnarok. Anyway, getting a little bit of side quest in here. So you start off the game in the church. There's somebody trying to get the princess that you're defending it. After this, it's only actually um you're gonna go back in time after this, because the one who actually successfully kidnaps the princess is your old buddy, and you go back and the story officially starts. And you get a flashback story and you start with chapter 1. And so as you can see here in the gameplay, there's elevation on here. There's so many things to consider with this particular game. And since I have mentioned that this is my first introduction to SRPG, JRPG in general, it's actually a lot to take in. And I got hooked because of that starting map, and going back into the past. You actually find out that you are a son of a very well respected sword saint. And as you can see, it's set in the medieval times. There are so many familiar, not really that familiar, but most familiar monsters for veterans of Final Fantasy. But since I was not a veteran during that time, this game actually kicked my balls because I didn't really know how to handle it. And this game actually taught me to make multiple save files, because later
That's
on in
true.
one of the stages of this game, I only kept one single save file. And there's actually a particular stage where there is a multi battle. And if you only kept one single save, and during that battle you go into the next stage without any MP, or your build for your characters, it's not well balanced enough, you're gonna be stuck with that save file with no way out. And it's really
Translation:
gonna.
Sir Drew only has one memory card at a time,
Yes, I was dirt cheap. I still actually have
like
my
everybody
memory
else.
card. I still have that memory card lying around somewhere here. Anyway, so um if for the people who is familiar with the game, it's actually the Rio Banes Castle set of stages. So if you have played the game, you will realize that that particular set of stages suck. Anyway, so going back into the gameplay, so you control just a maximum number of characters per map would be 5, if I'm not mistaken. And you would encounter enemies ranging from same number as you, going up to 10 or so. And um a lot of gripes. Before I go into the gripes, it one of the things that really makes Final Fantasy Tactics stand out versus other tactics games is, besides the you see the pop up the dialogue pop up and other stuff in here. There is such a huge there I only found this out actually later on, and when have more knowledge with JRPGs. This is actually a huge collaboration of people from Square Enix that used to work for Ogre Battle, and one of the people, yeah, that work here also work with Near Automata. And if you check out the cast, there's so many people to mention that actually work on this particular title, that are is well renowned nowadays. So what also sets this game apart from other tactical SRPGs is their huge use of elevation, the awesome job system, because your story characters have an actual unique job class which they start with, but at the same time they could become a monk, they could become a thief. It uses the Final Fantasy job system so well that it looks simple because you could use two jobs. You have your main job and your secondary job, but besides that you could also use other passive skills like dual wielding. You could get the dual wielding from the ninja. You could get the throw skill. You could get the aim skill from the archer, where you charge your attacks to make it more stronger. But at the same time, there should be time. You should consider timing, because when you cast a spell or when you cast a skill, it's either you target an area or you target a particular character for that skill. And if the enemy you're trying to target moves, then you would miss the target because of because of the timing thing, and because of the movement consideration of this particular game. And let's see. So that's what the gist of the gameplay is, and I know it, coming from what I am trying to explain right now, it might seem a little bit daunting or convoluted, and it's scary because there's so many things to consider in regards to this particular game. But the more you play it, the more, because you won't really need to take all of this into consideration when you start the game, because when you start the game, the available job classes that you have are just the squire, the alchemies, black mage, white mage, and as you level up your jobs, which has a maximum of level 8, your job class, the job class is different from your actual level. So as you level up your job class, you gain more access to the other classes, which you could get their particular passive skills, their particular skills, and mix them all up together. So as you move along, leveling up your characters and moving forward the story, you get to have more and more access and more combinations to this particular the particular job system of Final Fantasy Tactics has. And your classes have more diversity. You have more options to tackle the enemies moving forward. Now, going back into the story, to summarize the story of this particular game, is there is the overworld plot, wherein it's a Game of Thrones style. You have two two dukes, and that's why the PlayStation port, or rather the PlayStation version of this, is called the War of the Lions, because there are two dukes trying to buy for succession or position, because they're trying to be the one to rule. So that's the overworld plot that every citizen knows. But underneath it, there's a darker menacing, much more menacing um villain underneath the surface, and you are the person trying to defeat that villain, but everybody does not actually actually views your character Ramsa Bayul actually views you as the enemy of the state, wherein your yeah, wherein your body, your former body, which is Delita Hyrule, is actually viewed as the hero. So you're on the public side, you're the villain. You are called by so many names, and I'm just trying to think of words to describe this as not to spoil the plot of the game, because the plot of the game is such a huge aspect of this game, because the story, I do believe, is something I would really compare to Game of Thrones writing, because it's really, really, really beautiful in my opinion. Because even the villains are relatable. You would really know why they would you would feel why they did this certain acts, this certain despicable acts, why they are trying to do something so horrible, and why what happened to them to make them do these horrible things. So that's my overview of the story, as not to spoil what happens in the game. So this game has two versions. The PlayStation Portable one, which is this one, the War of the Lions, and the one that was released for the PlayStation one, which is this one. So this is actually the Millennium Collection edition. This is was released year 2000 during the Square Millennium Collection series. And um this is the exact same game. It's just that they release it in a collector's edition form. And the main difference for these two games are, the PlayStation Portable has added characters on one of their side quests. Two, in fact, that would be Baltier from Final Fantasy 12, and I'm gonna I'm gonna be wrong about this. Luca from Final Fantasy Tactics A2, the main character of the second advanced game. I'm not sure if I'm wrong, but I think it's
Not
Luca.
including Cloud.
Not including Cloud, because Cloud is in both versions.
Right.
Cloud is in both versions,
So
and
he's still unlockable, but it's not
yeah,
automatically added in the PSP version though.
no, 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 no,
So you can still
and
unlock.
yeah, and by the way, Cloud sucks in this game. He sucks balls. But the storyline in getting him is really, really worthwhile. But he
Right.
his personal job class sucks balls. Anyway, um, uh, where was I? So story, gameplay, cons in regards to this game. I hate the personal job class of the main character, which is Ramsa.
Ramsey.
His job class is something that you would use to exploit the leveling up system, or the job JP acquisition system. And I do highly advise against doing it, because you could level up your party to be overpowered in regards to the story battles. But once you go to the overworld and you go into a random battle, and encounter random battles, when you go and traverse the map, the overworld map, when you traverse it, there would be the maps there, where you would encounter random battles. They would be blinking in green. So when for example, you go into one town, you go into another town, there are some dots on the map that you tend to stop and there's a chance that you encounter a random battle on that map. And when you encounter a random battle on that map, the levels of those of the enemies on those maps are actually dynamic, and they grow with your level, as opposed to the story maps. Just they just have a set level on those particular maps. So you could go a route wherein you are overpowered on story levels, but you are underpowered on the random battles. And also the music for this game is such a treat to the ears. Even the character selection screen is burned to the back of my head. I could hear it playing right now because I thought about it. And uh what else? I'm trying to think of things to complain about the game. And since I'm so biased with this game, I'm trying it's really hard for me. Let's see. mm, I think that's it. The dynamic battle system on the random encounters, and the non-dynamic leveling system on the story battles, that would be a huge complaint. And I think that's it. Uh any questions in regards to all the blabbering that I just did? Sorry.
Well, one thing I'd say, Sir Drew, is the fact that I would love the very concept. I guess this is the perfect example of SRPGs that I love the concept of, but have a hard time getting into because of the fact that me as a well, I'm a 51-year-old man. I might not have the time to get into something as deep or as complicated as involved as Final Fantasy Tactics. I wish that there was an old man mode for a game like this where I can say, "All right, let's resolve this battle quickly. We know we want this battle to be resolved this way. Let's find out what happens afterwards." Because of the fact that, like I mentioned earlier in the episode, one battle for me takes a minimum of 30 minutes. And we're talking like this, it's not even factoring in positioning. It's not even factoring in what job class you want to put in there, what how formation affects the whole thing, what enemies or what weaponry to use. I wish that there was a way for me to experience this in such a way that I don't have to, because the way that you describe the plot is amazing. I want to really go through the plot line and understand the motivations of each and every single one of these characters. But the gameplay itself is so slow and plodding for me. And not to knock anybody else's experience with SRPGs, mind you, but for to quote Joe, ain't nobody got time for that anymore. For somebody like me, I'm old.
I
I
would
wish that
actually
I
have
could
to
do it.
agree.
Yeah, there you go. So I mean,
I totally agree.
because of the fact
And
that if you had the chance to experience this when you were younger, as a teenager, as an early 20 guy, you don't have as many things to take care of in your life yet for you to be able to plunk down the time for this. But now, I just wish I could just go through this quickly and find out what the storyline is, or maybe even pick up a book and then really find out what happens. But yeah, Sir Drew, you were about to say.
yeah, based on what you were saying, I just
Mm,
remembered a gripe that I have with the game. It's slow. It's really
mm,
slow,
mhm.
and there are some loading issues, especially
Oh,
with the PlayStation Portable and the
mhm,
PS1 versions. But luckily, there is actually an iOS version for this for
mhm.
War of the Lions, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's also available on Android.
Mhm,
And think I feel that it runs smoother on those versions. And yes, the gameplay does really take a lot of time.
mhm,
And as you have said, I played this during twice during my teenage years,
mhm,
and twice during the time when I was taking care of my kids growing up and I
Mhm.
have a little bit more time
Mhm.
during that stage in my
Mhm.
life, and it takes a lot of commitment because again this a single map does 30. I'm not sure if it's 30,
Mhm.
maybe 20 or something, so that's
Mhm.
a huge difference from what we encounter from normal JRPGs. I mean, if you play Super Mario RPG, the one single battle takes us seconds. It doesn't even take a minute to finish up a single
Mhm.
stage. And I do really agree with you, Sir Joel. That is, I think, that is one of the reasons why Hinu told that SRPGs are not for everyone, because
Mhm.
it is time consuming. It is but even though in SRPG's defense, it
Mhm.
is time consuming, but as Hino has said, the story is such a huge payoff for these
Mhm.
titles, and
Mhm.
rarely do they have rarely, and I say rarely because um most of some of the titles have actually shallower or more anime inspired,
Mhm.
were anime cliche. Some of them like the Stella Glow Luminous Arc series, they're more anime cliche
Mhm.
inclined SRPGs. It's like you're a protagonist trying and you end up trying to save the world from a god or something, which ironically, yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Anyway,
I
anyway,
I just want to add something. Sorry.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Mhm.
I think another reason why not a lot of people are into SRPGs and RPGs in general is because they don't like reading.
I agree.
yeah,
Yeah.
They they like the spectacle, they like the action, they like fast pace, or they like playing games that are like watching movies, but you can
Mhm.
experience them as the character in the game. But so if RPGs are already a lot of text, what
Mhm.
more? If you're playing the SRPG, since we're talking about more mature storylines, political intrigues, all the politicking of the warring nation, so
Mhm.
that's another like barrier
Yeah.
for people to get into. But
I agree. I agree. The depth, shall we say, the depth of the
yeah,
genre is a little intimidating. Mhm.
but I do think that for you, Joel,
Mhm.
maybe if you're just wanting to get into one SRPG and FF Tactics is what's your eye, what you are eyeing right now, then maybe just play that and not play anything else, since one SRPG really is time consuming. So maybe just pick one, the best of the crop, the cream of the crop. We're even
Mhm.
talking about FF Tactics, not even Tactics Ogre, which is an Ogre battle, which is more difficult than the FF
Mhm.
Tactics. So maybe just choose a game so that
Although
the
I
best
yeah,
game.
although I did hear as a plot based guy, I did hear that Final Fantasy sorry, the Tactics Ogre Let Us Cling Together has a better plot than Final Fantasy Tactics. I mean, some people have argued one way, some people have argued the other. I me as a plot guy, it sounds like Tactics Ogre might be a little bit more up my alley, but we'll see. Again, like I said, maybe some enterprising developer will say, "All right, so let's give Joel this thing where he can play this game, but he can say auto resolve. Okay, let's go down this path or let's go down that path." I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. Maybe some decide to do that. JDM, I
So
task you with
yeah.
that.
I think I get what Tito Joel was trying
Mhm,
to say, because
mhm.
I'm also getting on that,
Yes. Mhm.
that's okay. So I think the game is only slow because if you have no interest on that certain game.
Mhm.
um I'm watching this game. It's also look like SRW.
Mhm.
Every tactical RPG are time consuming, but then I have interest on those on robot. That's why I think I don't feel the time that I'm investing too much time on it
Mm.
because I enjoy it.
Well, that's true.
So
That's
I think it
definitely it.
depends on the game.
That's definitely a factor. If you're invested in the
Yeah.
storyline or in the character, the time will probably fly by. You're correct on that one, Jomar. I'd like to cite Andrew Kowa's experience here on the chats, though. He says, LOL, I remember during PS1 days, I left the console running during a random battle. I wasn't able to save for around 2 hours. The nature called number two. When I came back, my mom turned it off. So yeah, now that would really kill
Oh
my
no.
my motivation to continue that to that game. Like, oh my
No.
goodness. Like, mom,
Mom, what the
can you just,
hell?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, JD. That would kill my interest in finishing that game completely, I would say.
Like you're screaming,
Yeah.
"Come!"
All right, back to you then, Joe. Go ahead.
Uh, um, Another noteworthy factoid about this game, and Sergey Day might know this. The character designer of this also did Vagrant Story.
Yeah.
Sergey DM.
Vagrant Story.
Akihiko Yoshida.
Yeah. And because they're in the same universe, what do you call that? The Ivalis Alliance.
Yes, Evil's Alliance.
Yes. Vagrant Story, this game, and Final Fantasy 12.
Yes.
And the tactics in the Game Boy Advance and DS.
All right. How about Miss I? What can you? What's your first impressions of Tactics?
I have to say, I have
Well,
seen my brother
Tactics.
play this. This is one of his
Uh,
favorite games. He was able to play this on both PlayStation 1 and the PSP. I would really say it's really time consuming because of all the time you played that game. But it's interesting to see all the, let's say, the strategy coming into play when each battle happens. It doesn't really honestly catch my attention because this is not my cup of tea. But I guess for those who love this type of game, they would really enjoy it based on what I've seen from my brother. He's really a fan of that game. It was
And
Tactics.
also, what would prolong this game when you're playing it? You have this scribe who has a document of all the backstories of the kingdom and the characters, right? When you encounter new characters, new enemies, the scribe will write something about him, and you have the option to read their backstories, which is, if you're a book lover, or if you're a bookworm, or if you like reading literary pieces, you'd like this game. Just like in other Dungeons and Dragons games, I have to read. I love reading those books in Skyrim, in Oblivion. Every um, literary pieces that they're uh, putting in the game. So there.
JDM is that RPG player who the dragon is already attacking the castle and he's reading a book in the library.
Yes,
if there's
because
one
because
thing that
in
I will. Oh yeah, Sergey DM. Go go.
JDM, finish your thought. Go ahead.
because in Skyrim and in Oblivion, there are books there that increases your stats, right? So maybe
Oh, come on. You just
I
want to
will
read.
be able to use
Oh, come on.
that
You just want to read the
dragon.
story of the lusty Argonian maid. Come on. We all know what you're talking
and
about.
and the one who was shot out of a cannon, a
Oh, yeah.
catapult. I remember that in Oblivion.
Yeah. Mhm.
That makes me think of Dragon Age. Dragon Age also has a lore like, wait, Dragon, wait, you're
Mhm.
gonna read the entire book
Yeah,
in this
exactly.
month.
All right, Joe, you were
If,
about to say.
if there's one last thing that I will add about Final Fantasy Tactics, I didn't even really cared about Final Fantasy Tactics before, up until I saw what happened with Final Fantasy VII. And then when I heard that you have that you have this sub scene in regarding Cloud and Aerith, I'm like, oh shit, because I know what happened with Final Fantasy VII. I see my girl there. Okay, in any universe, all right, in any universe that they're gonna be together, I'll be there. Like I want to see what's gonna happen. So I was more curious on their side story and what are they doing in Final Fantasy Tactics, and what's the story between them were like. And yeah, a little bit disappointing, but at least there was some sort of a what's the best word to describe it, some sort of a continuation of their relationship. I got it from Final Fantasy Tactics. Short-lived as it was. Anyway, that's just a personal nitpick from me. We'll go now with Sir JDM and his game. Sir JDM, what's your strategy role-playing game of the evening?
All right. So for me, I'm going to talk about Brigandine, The
Ooh.
Legend of Orsena from Atlas in 1998. So this is also a strategy tactical game. So a strategy slash tactical RPG game, because you will know in a minute. So this game is set in the continent of Orsena. You have these different kingdoms. One of them is the like the capital of all the continent, which is New America, which is the largest kingdom in the continent. However, there was this guy, the leader of the leader of Amed. I mean, the largest kingdom before was Amelkia. So one of the like the general, the leader of um the troops there sparked a rebellion with a dark knight named Kador, and they killed the king, and so his son escaped. Prince Lance went to a nearby kingdom who's also loyal to Amelkia, and the they left Amelkia. Then this Zemeckis guy, the general, he started a new kingdom called the Esgares Empire. And it's like Game of Thrones, because you are in this continent, then all of a sudden there's this one kingdom that became an empire. He is trying to expand his empire to the other parts of the continent. It's like Game of Thrones, so politics and something like that. And what the main character is Prince Lance, who was the son of this king, the king of Amelkia. He went to a different kingdom which was loyal to his father, and he swore revenge, and he was he's eager to bring back the kingdom altogether and become the king. And so this game has three different gameplays. So the, here's where the strategy part comes in. You have this phase that's called the organized phase. This is where you move your knights, summon monsters, or send some of your rune knights to a quest where they can get items or increase their stats. Also, you can only have a number of monsters or allies in your per knight, because there are rune knights in each kingdom. So they have only a limited number of rune magic, I guess is what it's called. So you can only summon a few monsters each phase. So in the monsters, you have the typical Hydra, the Griffon, the Wyvern, uh, the Clay Golem. You also have unicorns and pixies. Those are support units. And then once you have moved your knights, you summon your monsters, and your attack phase will begin. So this is the time that you can move your knights to the adjacent kingdoms. And then when you proceed to the next stage, it's going to do the battle phase. So it will show you which territories are warring against two, and then it will show you this one, the one that you see on the screen. This is where the tactical gameplay comes in. So you have this grid, which is not typical because in tactical games you only have those square grid, right? Here you have six because it's a hexagonal grid. So instead of just four surrounding you, there's going to be six enemies. So that's more difficult. And then what I like about this game is when you try to attack other enemies, you have this animation, 3D animation like that. So that's a Jin using a ice magic towards a dragon. So there are also elements here. So you have red. Red, I guess, is the fire. Then green is nature, something like that. Blue is for water or ice. And you also have the white and the black magic. And what I like here is you can have battles with your rune knights with these gigantic enemies, monsters. So it's not like in Final Fantasy Tactics. You have enemy human enemies. Here you can fight monsters and dragons and these mythical creatures like the unicorn. And then you also have the trains as well. Let's not forget about that. You have those grassland, so there's no advantage here. You also have the like the forest or forest, I guess. Trees. It affects your defense and your um the rate that you can avoid the attacks. And also, as I mentioned earlier, the if you're inside the castle, your defense is much more greater than when you're in the grasslands. So there's no elevation here like in Final Fantasy Tactics. So everything is they're all leveled, no elevation. And what I liked about this game is the 3D animation. That's what you can see in here. So from at first in the overview you have the 2D sprites like this one. Then once they begin the battle, they become 3D animation. And I also like the music in this game. It's very appropriate, and it's it's like it's medieval, but the music is somehow it's rock. And yeah, and what I don't I yeah, I also like the character banters in this game. Sometimes it because when when the kingdom was overthrown, some of the knights that were loyal to the king, they decided to stay. with the general. So the characters there are related to, they have they ha- they have a relationship with the other characters or the one that left the empire. So when they meet in the battle phase, they do banters. Uh, they like insult each other or greet. They do greet each other. So I like that. What I didn't like about this game, it's quite difficult even if you're in the easy mode, because I guess it's because of the hexagonal grid. You easily get surrounded by enemies, and also when you begin the game, you can choose whether there are several characters that you can start with. Some are easy, some are hard, and some kingdoms do not have the powerful monsters, so it's really hard for them to win battles in and the beginning. So you really need to send them to quests so they can get power ups, equipment that can help you in your battles. So that's it for Brigandine. If you haven't played this, I think this game is a hidden gem. I don't think anyone have played this in my times of I when people are streaming, they're always playing the Final Fantasy Tactics or Tactics Ogre, and I rarely see people play this game on their stream. So I think I'm the 2% or 1% of the population who have played this game.
Well, I have to tell you one thing,
Yeah.
JDM. I do remember seeing this a lot way back in the PS1 era. You know how we would sort through all the discs in our resident seven seas places where we
Mm,
would go buy our PlayStation 1 games. I would always see this game, but the artwork on the cover would all be so generic that I would kind of always bypass it, I guess.
mm,
Sometimes you do judge a book by its cover. I'm sorry to have to say this, but that was one of the things that made me pass over Brigandine all the time. Brigandine all the time when I was trying to choose what game to buy from my suking
mm,
pirata. And it's just, I just sorry to have to say this, pero yun na nga, and for looking at it though, from the way that you describe it, it looks like it's good. I might get into it, and its sequel
I
right now, which
wanna
is out
play
on the
it.
Switch.
yeah.
Yes, there you go, which is out on the
I
Switch.
I
Brigandine Runertia, if I remember correctly.
yeah.
So yeah, with your description of this, I might want to try to get into it, and it doesn't seem as complicated as some of the SRPGs that have been described, because you're describing it as being on a flat plane. You don't factor in
Yeah.
elevation. You don't factor in
Yeah.
multiplied damage because of the fact that the arrow is coming down at you from a mountain, things like that. So it looks good. You're about to say Messino.
And
Oh, sorry.
So
Go ahead.
I wanna play Brigandine, but it's
Mhm.
so damn expensive. The
mm,
PS1.
Okay, okay.
I don't know why it's expensive. Maybe because it's something that has not as successful, so maybe there's limited prints. And then
Mhm.
mm,
when I heard that it's gonna be the Runersha, the Switch release and
mm,
modern console release, I was like, oh man, why didn't they make a remaster of the original one? Because it's so expensive. But yeah, I actually wasn't expecting to see more of mythical creatures in the beast, and I'm actually intrigued by the hexagonal grid. And
Mhm.
mm.
yeah, I think I'm gonna be one of those players who's gonna die easily because I'm gonna be surrounded with enemies.
Yeah, not just by four enemies but six.
Mhm. Again,
And all,
Kuyog.
yeah. Kuyog Bayan.
Kuyog Bayan. Like you're standing there, you make a mistake of positioning your character in a bad spot, and all of the enemies rush you in one large, group. You're screwed.
Yeah. And also, I would like to add pala,
Mm.
another good thing about this game is when you do the area damage or those damage that do this line of fire, they don't really hit the friendlies, just the enemies. I think that's uh, for others it would be unfair because it's not realistic.
No, it's a
Because when
plus. I hate it when I cast a spell, and my forces get damaged too because of the splash. It's
uh,
like, what the heck? This is just way
it's
too complicated for me already.
it's not like
I,
in Final Fantasy Tactics that when you do Firaga,
Mhm,
then it's like a cross.
mhm.
Anything that within that cross, they're also affected by
It's
the
friendly
the
fire. I
attack.
hate that. I hate friendly fire.
literally friendly fire. I'm
Um,
actually surprised that you mentioned that it has an easy mode because normally the tactics games won't have any
Oh,
slider when it comes to the difficulty.
I think that's the maybe I think that's the reason why they don't do the friendly fire is because I did the easy. Maybe because I don't think
Ah,
I played the normal mode. Maybe in the normal in the normal mode and the hard mode, it's going to be there's going to be friendly fire. So let me try that later. Huh?
all right. So yeah, graphic wise, it looks good. Reminds me a little bit of Legend of Legaia on the PS1. If yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm. All right, back to you, Joe. Oh, I think Joe's mic is muted.
Judging by the gameplay that I'm looking at here, it's very equal opportunity. The biggest creature versus the smallest creature battling it out like it's a normal thing to do. Like they don't care. I'll attack whatever,
Yeah.
right? Number two, I like the area of effect magic here. It's very satisfying when you're able to cast a wide array of magic that can cause damage to multiple enemies and not just once. It's just cost effective, you know. I like it like that, and yeah. What else?
You
Very
also like
Pokemon.
this one. You also like that girl. And the succubus. There's a succubus in the game.
Of course,
Maybe you might want to pick that up as well. And the
always
pixies.
pick the succubus, guys. Anybody else would like to comment on Brigandine?
I want to
Um,
say that the animation during the attacks are really good. Like it's an older version of the modern Fire Emblem attack animations. So I really like how that looks.
But unlike Fire Emblem, you don't have the dramatic deaths here. Like
Mm.
Peter Griffin
Oh,
dying
not as
Oh.
animation.
not as
Yeah.
dramatic as was that what was the name of that game, Joe? The one that spews blood everywhere. Uh,
Vandal Hearts.
Vandal Hearts. That's it.
Yeah. They just glow they just glow up and explode.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no drama there. No drama there at
Yeah.
all.
And
No
they
drama
do
there at all.
like a scream or
Mm.
something.
Now, if you think your games are Game of Thrones, Vandal Hearts now they are very Game of Thrones in regarding with the gore and the violence.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'd like to say hi to Barona Royka, Gami Tagle on Twitch. Hey, Gami, it's great to see you again. One of our more loyal viewers. Thanks very much for hanging around, Barona Royka, Gami Tagle. All right, so we're at 2.5 hours. Why don't we just do a speed round for our choice, Joe, for our second choice? Just a speed round, quick one. Quick, name the game, describe it quickly, then next panelist. How's that?
Sure. I'll just
Actually,
do
but first things
one.
first, I do believe we have
Mhm.
something from Dan Faulkner first,
Oh
okay?
yeah, Sir
Mhm.
Dan.
All right, let's do a really quick one from Dan about his choices of strategy RPGs. All right.
I hope this is not a shoot 'em up.
I know.
Oh,
That trauma is still hanging around with me, JDM. My goodness. Okay.
Let me just there you go, Sir Don Faulkner and his choices for the strategy role playing games.
Hello, Timeless Gamer crew, and thanks for having me on the show again in this episode of Strategy RPGs. My choices, obviously, they're going to be Sega choices. I've got to represent my boys, and the Sega ones I'm going to pick both, Sega Mega Drive all through. First, we're going to start with the legendary Shining Force 2. Okay, Shining Force 2, and it's a 1993 game, sequel to the original Shining Force, obviously. And it's very much cited for being an RPG that introduced and got a lot of people into RPGs in general. A lot of games are credited with that, but a lot of people I know who weren't into RPGs got into it via Shining Force 2. And in the Sega groups that I'm on, it's widely hailed as that. So it's got that feather in its cap anyway. But it's a fantastic little game, and it's got a lot of things that set it apart. I mean, it's a great game anyway. It's got a lot of very good, well-designed tactical battles that work well, and they've all got something a little bit different, a little bit interesting going off with them, and they're great in themselves. But what really sets Shining Force 2 apart from a lot of other strategy RPGs is that it still contains exploration, like you would have in a traditional JRPG. You can talk to people around towns. You can find a lot of secrets. There are secret areas and secret characters to be found, and it gives the game a lot of depth and character. And it just works amazingly. It's quite astounding that certain inferior series like Fire Emblem didn't copy that formula at an early stage, really, or an earlier stage. Shining Force 2 just had this amazing formula, and nobody tried to copy it for years, but hey ho. But yeah, what sets it apart is it's extremely replayable. Okay, I replay it at least once a year, and the main reasons for that is number one, it's got a wide range of characters you can choose from. It's a large roster, and at this roster there's quite a few secret characters, so chances are if you're not a pussy and you're playing it through properly without a guide, then you're not going to find all your characters on your first playthrough, which obviously gives games more replayability. So that's a great thing. But as well as that wide roster, you can also experiment with different changes in various characters' careers. Not every single character has it, but some characters can get special items that give them a different career path, which is again more replayability. To add to that, as well as the secrets and the roster, you've also got multiple difficulty levels, which were pretty unheard of for an RPG of that era. You've got 4 difficulty levels here, and what's even better is the 2 hardest difficulty levels take a different approach to how they're difficult. Okay, well, I believe one was actually a programming mistake, but basically what happens is one of them turns the AI really aggressive and makes him go for your healers and your main character. And your main character, if your main character dies, you lose the battle instantly, regardless of how the rest of your troops are doing. And the other approach is that it increases the enemy attack power significantly. So again, it gives you, when you play through both these approaches, you can't approach the battles in the same way, or you don't end up winning. And it just, between all these little elements, you've got just a superb top tier game that's got a ton of replayability, a ton of charm, a ton of accessibility. It's really simple and really easy to get into. But it's got a lot of depth as well because of these elements. So honestly, Shining Force 2, play it. It's a fantastic strategy RPG. If you're into it, you're missing out if you ain't playing it, I'll tell you. The other one I'm going to pick, again, Sega Mega Drive, is Warsong. Now, Warsong's more traditional strategy RPG, much like it is. The exploration elements aren't there. It is literally bit of story onto a battle, bit of story onto a battle. And what makes it so great is it's just got a supremely brilliant balanced challenge. It's got a gameplay mechanic whereby you employ troops, okay, and you evolve your character. Each character has several different paths that can go along. Yeah, I mean, you can end up a dragon knight, you can end up a normal knight, you can end up a warlock, or I mean, and that again, how you build your squads contributes a lot to how you play through the game. But you also have troops, and how you progress through this character tree determines what kind of troops you get as well. So that's something else to think about. It works really great because like I say, that main mechanic is that your troops, the nearer they are to you, the stronger they are to you. And if they fall outside of like an area of command, they become incredibly weak. So that really adds a lot of strategy RPGs don't have that element, and it really adds a different approach to how you have to attack the enemies and position your troops and people. Because if they're straight too far from your commander, it's the difference between winning and losing. And each troop, it's basically got a rock, paper, scissors methods of how it employs troop types, but it's deeper than that. And it's just a supremely balanced game when it comes to gameplay. It really is. It's fantastic. It's got wicked banging tunes that accompany it. Tunes that you wouldn't think could be in a strategy RPG, especially fancy one. It's got like techno beats and everything. It's really, really great. And it's got a nice meaty challenge. It's got a really, really nice meaty challenge. So, this challenge it includes permadeath. So, permadeath's always a great, it's always a great thing to have, because you lose a character, your character dies, boom, that's it, it's dead, done. So it's it's really great from that angle. It's a really, really nice meaty game, and I'll give its sequel an honourable mention. Now, overall, I'd say its sequel, Langrissa 2. Which is actually a Japanese exclusive game, but you can obviously get an English patch for it now. Langrissa 2 is probably the better game, but I would say to everybody, play Warsong first, because it just works better that way. Like I play it that way, and I'm so glad I did, because it works better. The gameplay mechanics that evolve from the first game, Warsong, in Langrissa 2. That does make it, like I said, it makes it a better game. There's a lot more secrets to be found in there that you can search on maps for. But it loses permadeath, which I do feel waters it down a bit. And it's a real shame there wasn't an option to include permadeath in the second game. Even if you're added your default setting as no permadeath, including permadeath would have just made it really, really nice. But again, it's another fantastic game. All the goodness of the first one, just tweaked and refined, and with great tunes again. Great battle challenges. What makes the second one probably really stand out is that a lot of the battles change up about halfway through. You get different dynamics, surprises that occur throughout the battles, and that really keeps you on your toes. Definitely. Now, this game, Langrissa 2, is also on Super Nintendo. And Super Nintendo, well, it's on a lot of, actually, both of these games are on a lot of systems. Got remade many times. On the Super Nintendo, especially, because that's the one I've also played a lot of. But on the other versions that I've played the recent remakes. They include a lot more story. So if you're a story guy and you're a bit of a fanny and you're not really into combat, then that might be the way to go. Personally, I think they're all shit compared to the Mega Drive versions, because they're so easy. It's pathetic. They've ruined them. Completely ruined them. And the Super Nintendo version, it is honest to God, it is so weak. It's a baby's game. You can play through the Super Nintendo version without losing a troop. Never mind losing a commander. Never mind losing a battle. You know what I mean? It's a 1-year-old game. And the later version that I played were pretty much the same. So I'm not saying don't try them, but if you want the proper experience, go for Warsong and Langrissa on the Sega Mega Drive, where they actually treat you like you with respect. They respect your intelligence. They respect that you're not of a baby level brain, really. So yeah, I'm just feeling badly even thinking about it. Ugh. God, I hated playing the Super Nintendo version. It was horrible. But there were 3 games. So check them out. All on Sega Mega Drive. They're all fantastic. And keep your games aimless.
All right. Thank you for that, Sir Dan. And there you have it. According to the Sega Mega Master, he has spoken. The best strategy role playing games for the Mega Drive Genesis is Shining Force 2, Warsong, Langriser 2, and Les Langriser for the SNES can suck it. According to Sir Dan Faulkner. All right. Apparently, the SNES version is just plain bollocks. So I'll just do my game, and then
Mm,
we'll just speed round.
yes.
And for mine, just to provide a little bit more variety on the selections that we have, I'll choose for the Sega Dreamcast called the Run Dim as Black Soul.
Mhm.
So this game was released back in 2001 for the Sega Dreamcast by Yuki Enterprises and published by Idea Factory. So, story. All right. So, um, global warming. Oh, shit. Massive flood. Okay. Year 20XX. The whole world's gone to shit. Everything's on fire. Every nation is broke. Okay. So, what do we do? Let's invest all the money that we have on robots. Sure. Why not? So, what we do?
Yeah,
We
it's
build
reasonable.
robots and we fight for whatever resources that's left in the world.
Nope, Joe just disappeared. I guess his enthusiasm killed his stream. All right, sorry about that. We'll just give Joe a little bit of a moment to come back. And
Oh,
okay, here
sorry
he
about
is.
that.
Okay,
Okay.
his electric
Some
enthusiasm really got the stream. Okay, continue, Joe. Go
All
ahead.
right. So, all right. Technical difficulties and all that. Okay.
Mm,
Uh, so yeah. So that's basically the story.
mhm,
Okay. So what's good and the bad about this game? Okay. Let's go with good. Gameplay looks like a combination of the PlayStation One games, Vanguard Bandits, and Front Mission 3. To all of you guys who are familiar with those games,
mhm,
much like Warsong and Brigandine, you move on a hexagon grid map. And of course, robots and, just like the Super Robot Wars, yeah? So there are three types of robots here. I'll call them mobile suits Gundam, yeah? You got your close range robots. They use the double-handed long swords. You got your mid-range robots. They have the beam saber and the rifle. And you got your long-range robots that has the cannon on the shoulder and a rifle on the other hand. So as far as I know, you cannot change their weapons. Although, um, as far as I know, you can only just upgrade them, uh, just just for them to be more effective in battle if you have the money. Combat menu here includes a counter action tab, which will allow the player to choose what the character will do if it gets attacked by an enemy, whether
Mhm.
you choose to defend, dodge, or counter attack. Of course, if you choose defend, the damage you will get depending on your robot's armor and endurance. If you choose to dodge, it depends on your evasion rate. If you choose to
Mhm.
counterattack, it will depend on your robot's accuracy.
Mhm.
So the counter action tab here is usable before and after your robot attacks. Meaning, if you attack first, for example, you can set the tab to defend or dodge to minimize the counter damage that you will receive from the enemy. If you set the tab to counterattack after you end your turn, if the enemy robot if the enemy robot attacks you, then you get the chance to retaliate um, if the enemy attacks. Just to shave off some HP from the enemy. You will get monetary rewards by doing side jobs in this game, and it can be an escort mission, destroy an enemy base, or destroying all of the enemy units. The maximum To maximize your reward, it all depends on how many of your robot units will survive the mission, how many enemy units you will destroy, how fast can you complete the mission. Like for example, if the threshold is 10 turns, you manage to finish it by 6. Good for you. Uh, or your escort vessel passes safely. Uh, the bad about this game, all right. Okay, most annoying. The designs of the okay, number one, the designs of the robots here. they lack creativity and imagination compared to Vanguard Bandits and Front Mission. Very colorful on those games. Here they can be so generic, and half the time I don't even distinguish them from the enemy and what's your party members or look like. They all look the same to me, kind of. Um, it would be nice if you can customize your robots. What color? Sure. Um, this is the only SRPG that uses robots that makes you pay for your own repairs and ammunition. Say what you ask. Okay, example. Picture Super Robot Wars, and you're using Voltes 5. And for every Voltes bazooka, for every ultramagnetic top, for every ultramagnetic sword, you're gonna have to pay for that for every time you use that every battle. Yeah. so so basically the game will make you pay for damage repairs and to get to replenish your ammunition every battle, just to keep with the consistency of the game's plot that every nation is broke. Okay, KKB. So the base is not so the base is not responsible for shouldering all of these repairs. That's on you.
Mm.
So the base has no money to maintain the robots or upgrading them or equipping them. So after each battle, the game will take note of every damage your robots took, how much ammunition was used. Sir Joel will have a knack of this. So the
Yeah,
game will show post
it sounds
battle.
like yeah, it sounds definitely sounds like something I would enjoy. Like,
So,
how
the game
much
will
money am I gonna spend with this bullet?
yeah.
Okay.
So the battle will show a computation of how much damage it took, how many
Mm.
bullets how many bullets that you used, and the game will deduct the total amount from the
Mhm.
monetary reward that you're supposed to get, and it
Mhm.
will only give you what like peanut change.
Mm.
So okay, so if every nation is broke, right? So where does your money coming from? Where does the monetary reward comes from? So
Mhm.
apparently by doing side quests or mercenary work for various contractors and other organizations, yeah, they will give you the money. Which still begs the question: if every nation is broke, then where is the money coming from? So yeah, so every for it just comes from don't worry about it. All right, so I mentioned so the game will post the calculations after the battle. You
Mhm.
cannot contest, you cannot question the game's math. All right. Although the game will show you the post battle computations, do not be surprised if the game will screw you off your reward money. Your computations might be right, but it don't mean shit to the game. It will take more than it should. Like it will take like I'm like 30% more. And I don't know, maybe there's some hidden tax in there that the game is not telling me. So at the shop, okay, at the base, you will use what is left with your money to upgrade the stats of your robots and weaponry. And unless the game allows you to, you can only upgrade them to a certain extent. And as far as I know, I only reach up to chapter 5. There are no consumable items that you can use or you can buy at the shops. Some of these items are just given by the base after a successful story mission, not during your side missions. And as far as I know, up to chapter 5, you can only deploy up to 4 robots from your side. The enemy can start off with 3. And then as the game progresses on, each turn goes by, they have the ability to call for reinforcements. Fair, right? Oh, and unlike front mission, each robot only has a single HP meter. In front mission 3, the main body, left arm, right arm, the legs have their own HP, and this one they just have one single HP meter. So, to make things better, there are no means to repair them in battle. So if they get
Oh yeah.
damaged, so there's no mean to repair them. There's no HP replenishing skill magic. There's no magic, of course. Robots. There, there's nothing to repair them during the battle. So good luck to you if they get destroyed during your battle, because you can only have four. It's a good thing though. There's no permadeath. There's no permadeath. If one of your robots get destroyed, the pilot will just evacuate and then come back. But because the game is charging you for everything, then that means getting that restoring that robot will will cost you a lot more. So it's up to you now to whether to decide to if you have a robot who is very low in HP, just tail back. So strategy, okay. So pay attention to the debriefing before each mission, because this will tell you what kind of enemy units that you will be facing and what the victory conditions are. If the victory condition says defeat all enemies and or reach the enemy base, I would say just go to the base rather than risking your units and battling all of the enemy units. What else? Oh, see right there. Okay, so I'm showing you the competition. Yeah. So you got your rewards there. So so the income computation side, that's correct. In what universe would be the total would for 54 plus 92 plus 312 plus 186 plus 1000, and you will get 4009. So do the math. You would
Yeah.
think, okay,
Yeah. Mm-mm.
I'm like, so how the hell the game came up with 4009 dollars?
Nah,
Converting to
it's
dollars.
yeah, conversion into dollars. Yeah, I agree. Or
So the game is telling me that, okay, so my unit spend $1,000 for rifle ammunition and cost $54 for that to get fixed. So that means 1,000, 1,250, 1,186, 312, 92, and 54. That still add up to 4009. So I'm not sure where the game is getting that math though. I'm not sure
Gable.
if I'm just I'm not sure if that's correct, or I'm just, I don't know.
Oh my
Using the
goodness.
calculator right now, it's not 4,000.
Unless unless we're talking about no, that's not it either. Oh my gosh, the accountant in me is now calculating things, try to reconcile this, try to reconcile these figures. Are you
Anyways,
sure?
Well,
like I
you know,
mentioned,
on
this is gonna bug me now as an accountant. Like
so like I mentioned, you don't question the math. Uh, unless you're going to take account of every single figure in there. Maybe the game is telling me, yeah, the math is correct. Just accept it. Sure.
no, it's not.
Tito Joel, you should be used to this by now
Yeah,
because
I'm
if you go
I'm
to the
gonna.
dealership, it's like this.
I know, I agree. That's true. To a car dealership, it's exactly like this. I'm gonna call for an audit of this one.
So that
Agreed.
tells
Yeah,
me my,
everything.
my my total reward for doing everything right. I will get $25,700. The game is charging me for the repairs and the ammunition minus $4,009, and the game will only give me the remainder of, I don't know, 21,691. I'm not even sure if, I'm definitely sure that's a correct subtraction, but I'm not sure about the way he computed the cost though. Anyways,
Man,
He added everything.
that's gonna bug me for the rest of the day.
it's just so annoying.
I
All
know
right.
it is.
Maybe
Okay. So strategy number two.
Mhm.
Always check the terrain of each hexagon in the combat map, because each hexagon has a certain number of mobility points. So, for example,
mm,
if a dry land hexagon requires 120 mobility points, if your robot has at least 240 mobility points, then that means you can only move up to two hexagons. A water hexagon needs 240 mobility points. That means that robot can only move up to one hexagon at a time. So my strategy would be invest more mobility points on each robot so that they're a bit more, so they can maneuver a bit more around the map. So you'll see right there. Um, you can see you can see on the screen right there. I'm just upgrading all of the stats of my characters and my robots. Oh, strategy number three. So each cannon fire from the long range robots, they cost $1,000 per shot, making it the most expensive ammunition, but arguably the most devastating against the enemies. And although that being said, uh, you cannot really rely on the cannon fire all the time because chances are you will get less money once the game does the post battle computation because each shot costs $1,000. So can you imagine just keep on using the cannon fire like 10 times? So how much money do you think you're gonna get? So the long range robots has the least mobility in exchange for the firepower and range. However, by investing on their mobility points, you can use them more efficiently in assisting your vanguards because not only that they have the cannon fire, they also have the rifle. So if you're too cheap to use the cannon fire, you can just use the rifle. A lot cheaper. Oh, again with this game, there are, like I mentioned, so there are no means to replenish the HP. So take advantage of the counter action tab. If you think one of your robots have enough HP to tank all of the incoming enemy attack, choose counter attack. So at least you can shave off some enemy HP. The idea is making sure you maximize your monetary reward by keeping all of your robots functional after combat anyway. So dodge or defend if you have to. And yeah, so as you can see there, that's how you use your money to upgrade your stats. Armor, endurance, mobility, um, accuracy, yada 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 yada. So yep, that's run equals dim
Mhm.
as Black Soul. Weird name.
All I
Ju-
it's all I can do to not say Run DMC. What can I say?
yeah.
I'm an '80s kid, you
Uh,
know.
it's also based from the 3D animation run equals dim
Mhm,
anime, a 3D anime actually. This was the
mhm.
time when you guys know Reboot and Beast Wars,
Yes.
basically uh, the same animation style like those.
Ooh.
Uh,
Johnny Quest.
and Johnny
Yes.
Quest.
Mhm,
So this game, Japan only at first came on 2001.
mhm.
What I played here was a fan translation. But yeah, despite of its quirks, I did enjoy it.
Again,
That's
thank the good Lord Almighty for fan translators. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes.
so yeah. We'll do a quick speed round because it's already 3 hours. So
Yeah, let's do speed run. Yeah.
fortunately, we'll just do a speed round of
Mhm,
our second games. We'll try
mhm,
to describe them as briefly as we can.
mhm.
So let's start off with Sir JDM.
Mm.
Okay, so for
So
me, second,
we'll do Sir
yeah.
JDM, Miss Hinu, Sir Joel, Miss I, Sir Drew, me, and then last Sir Jomar. All
Yes.
right.
Mhm. All right. Say
Okay.
JDM
All right.
speed round.
So for me, second game, it's going to be Monster Seed from Sunsoft in 1999. It's
Mhm,
a tactical RPG. It's like an abomination. You have Pokemon, Digimon, Monster Rancher, and Final
mhm,
Fantasy Tactics. It's like that. So you have a
mhm,
grid. You you're a ruler.
mhm,
You call monsters. They fight for you.
mhm,
Um, you can hatch from seeds. That's the title.
mhm.
You have a total of 97 monsters in total that you
Okay.
can get in the whole game. But I think there are dark seeds. They're like the rare seeds that you can get. Maybe there's a few more rather than just 97. So
Mhm.
um, this is one of those hidden gem games because as we know nobody likes these games that nobody like these types of games because
Mhm.
I think this is their Sons of Spore like they made this game because Pokemon is gaining money as well as
Mm.
Digimon.
Mhm.
I think this is their like attempt to um develop a monster game monster what do you call this manage
Mhm. A
yeah
monster raising, a monster farming
raising
type. Yeah.
yeah
Mhm. Oh my gosh. And I have to admit, JDM, it's another it's a trend that you choose the games that have the worst game covers in our suking pirata places, because this is another one of them that I keep seeing, like Monster Seed. What the heck? Let's just move on to the next one. It's just
yeah
all right.
and
Back to you,
I
JDM.
remember I remember back when we were in the Emirates I
Mm.
always see this game. Remember when you select the games those
Mm.
pirated games,
Yes.
you see this game Pepsi Man, then Monster Seed, then Brigandine, then you see this Metal Gear Solid. Then
Mm.
after that you'll see that game again.
Hmm.
It's one of
Yeah.
these games.
Yeah. I get completely what you're saying. All right. So that is JDM's second game, Monster Seed. Uh, I kind of want to try it, but maybe not. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, next person.
Miss Hino.
All right. I just want to go off on the tangent since we don't
Mhm.
have any time anymore. A lot of the strategy RPGs that we have mentioned are all set in this fantasy medieval setting, and I think a lot of people aren't also into that, especially the non JRPG people. So I would recommend to those who are looking for a more realistic, or at least as close to us, as close to our real world, would be Valkyria Chronicles and Advance Wars. So I think those are two war games that maybe people can try out if they're not into the medieval heavy reading thing. So for my second game, it's related to what Drew mentioned earlier, and I have here another uh, handheld SRPG, and it's also some just like the Valkyrie profile I showed earlier. Mixed reviews. We have here the Final Fantasy Tactics A2. Don't kill me, guys. I haven't played the main FF Tactics as well as FF Tactics Advance, and also the main games for Valkyrie Profile because I wanted to start off with the ones that people hate the most first. That way, I can finish off the series with the best installment. So I'm saving the original FF Tactics for last. So also, I want to thank my friend Hums Gaming because she's the one who helped me along the way for this game. So this game was made 2008. It's released before Valkyrie Profile, so the Tactics fans were eating good during those years. And of course, Square Enix, I would say it's basically an isekai. You're a boy named Luso, you don't want to do your summer homework, so you got into detention, you found this cool book, and then you got transported to a different world or isekai to a different world. And um, just like FF Tactics, FF12, um, Vagrant Story. This is also part of the Avalais Alliance. So we do have some cameo characters here. Van and Penelope from FF12 actually appear in this game, and I think it's also a means for Square Enix to promote the FF12 tactics game also on the NDS, which is Revenant Wings. So I think that's the reason why we have the cameo characters. So let's go to some of the good parts. It's more lighthearted, and I think that's the reason why a lot of people don't like it because they're expecting to see something like the original Final Fantasy Tactics, which is very complex and for a more mature audience. So this is something that's lighthearted, but to those people who would try this game out, I would say that there are some side character stories that are surprisingly deep and can really give you the feels. So I was pleasantly surprised with that. But overall, it's a good feel game. It's a happy game. Colors are wonderful. You can see it here on the screen. To those who are listening, we're showing the gameplay right now. Very, very vibrant colors, very colorful. Um, since we're set in the Alliance world, we have here then humans, non-humans, and you're basically a mercenary who belongs to this clan, and you compete with the other clans so that you'll get to be the best clan in this region of the world. And you just go up the ranks until you find a means of returning to your world. Addictive job system, just like the other strategy RPGs. So if you wanna go unconventional way, maybe you can have like a white mage who usually specializes in healing magic, but then you equip them with the monk skill, so you have a white mage who's punching enemies left and right and dealing 999 damage. So that's something fun that you can do in this game. Let's go to the bad. Oh, sorry. For the good, OST, very nice OST. Nothing remarkable, but I think it's perfect for the lightheartedness of the game. And it's something that can really give you LSS since it's catchy. Uh, not something new, but it's catchy enough that you're gonna like it and you're gonna enjoy it. So for the bads, it's not as difficult as Valkyrie Profile, Covenant of the Plume, but there are going to be difficulty spikes on some parts of the game because we'll have conditions wherein you have to consider the terrain. Sometimes the game has terrain and the difficulty. And lastly, it's sometimes difficult to unlock the skills because the game doesn't necessarily tell you which job class you should use to unlock the certain skill. So it's more in the experimentation thing. So there you go. If anyone wants to try FF Tactics but doesn't want to go into the nitty gritty of the original one, and maybe you can give this a shot.
Mhm.
7C's route, since the physical is, I think, kind of costly. So that would be it for me. Thank you.
All
All
right.
right, thank you for that, Miss Hinu. Next up, Sir Joe.
Okay, my second game of the topic is a game called Igdra Union to follow Miss Hinu's choice.
Oh shit, I love that.
Yeah, yeah, of handheld SRPGs. I've tried Igdra Union. It first came out on the Game Boy
The DS or
Advance.
the PSP, Sir Joe?
I tried the PSP version actually,
Very
but
good.
the GBA version is good too. It first came out on the GBA, and it got ported into the Sony PSP PlayStation Portable. It is a strategy RPG, of course, the usual fantasy setting, but in this usual fantasy hijinks where you have a princess to save, but in this case she's a princess who has a magical sword who is destined to gain back her kingdom that she lost. And it's the usual thing where, actually no, in this case it's making sure that your weaponry is focused on which weaponry is most effective against your enemy's weaponry. And it's very linear. You don't try to move around the map or anything like that. You choose the map. The storyline goes where it wants you to go, and it's just up to you to fight your way through the storyline. And one important thing about this is morale is plays a very strong factor into this game, where if your army has low morale versus the enemy's high morale, your army will break very quickly and you will lose the battle. You are at a huge disadvantage from the very beginning. You also use cards, Juan de Marcos's bane when it comes to when it comes to games, tactics cards, which you can apply to your army before the beginning of the battle. You can use those to augment your army's abilities and powers. Let's see. One thing about this is terrain does not play as big of a role as it normally does in other strategy RPGs. But I have to say, I got pissed at this game for one moment because of the fact that you were fighting against the Naga, which are the snake people. They control water, and one of the things that they're one of their powers is that they froze over the lake that you're going to be fighting over. I did not realize that I had a time limit before I had to get off that damned lake before it turned back into water, and it killed my entire army. I got angry at that one. But what can I say? It's those little surprises that kind of throw you for a loop, and yeah, it gives a little bit of variety to the game. So, Igra Union originally came out on GBA. It got ported to PSP, and if I remember correctly, it has a port now on Steam. If you guys want to play it on PC, it's
I
available
think
on Steam as
as
well.
well. But it hasn't
Sorry,
been
Miss.
translated, sadly.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. It's the Steam version is in beta, if I remember correctly. It's a part where it's in the stage where you're trying to hash out all the bugs. But yeah, if you're looking for something a little bit off the beaten path, Idra Union for the GBA and PSP is the one to look for. Give and the nicest thing about it is also it's also part of a series. If I remember correctly, it's part of an entire series that includes games like Riviera, The Promised Land, Gun. I forgot the other games
Yep.
that were on it. So yeah, it you can play it as part of an entire series, or you can play it standalone. So it's a good game to get into, and it's not as complex as the other SRPGs that I've seen. So it's a good intro. All right, on to the next one.
All right. Thank you for that, Sir Joel. Easy. All right. How about Miss I?
So for me, I'm gonna try and be as fast with this. My choice is Front Mission 3. I guess most of you know this game. This was released in 1999 in Japan and 2000 in European and American markets. So this was by Square and released on the PlayStation 1. The plot of this is it was set in Southeast Asia with themes of Cold War. So there are like two factions here. So I'm looking at this with nostalgic glasses, and I remember liking this game because when I saw the Philippines and Panay Island was mentioned, I was like, "Ooh, there, cue the Leonardo DiCaprio pointing meme like that." So it was like we don't get mentioned as much in video games. So this was like Philippines represent or something like that, you know. So I remember this game. So you control what you call Vancers, spelled with the A
Panzers. Yeah.
W. Yes, it came from
Panzers.
the
Yeah.
German word Van
German.
der Panzer,
Yeah.
meaning walking tank. So you have a choice here. Remember I said earlier there are like two factions. So you have a choice between two routes. They share some major plot points but have different characters and story scenarios. So
Always
like
go with the sister route.
with the
Always go with the sister route. For all of you
sister
men of culture, go with the
Lisa.
sister route.
So Sir Joyce mentioned Alisa. So like Miss said earlier, in SRPGs like this, you can go to different locations, but just through choosing uh, options on the menu, not by walking. And also in this game, like you can see there, the pilots can actually dismount your Vanzer at some point, and in other moments, you can actually hit the enemy Vanzer so hard that the enemy pilot either gets killed or gets ejected. So you can also, I'm not sure, I don't remember if you could actually target the different parts of the Vanzer,
Yes.
but oh, you can. That's good.
Yes.
Uh, because like if you could target the arm with the let's say more powerful weapon, that would be advantageous. So also in this game, you could destroy the structures covering your enemies. What I like about this game is the background music. The animated avatars. I mean, they like choose different frames, so it's not like a static one picture there. You can also save mid battle. So if you would
Mm.
remember, like many of us don't like in SRPGs, it takes too long to play. So if you want to uh, take a break or you need to do something, save, leave it, and come back to the exact battle where you left it off. There's also animation attacks here. It's nice to see the attacks, the fires, the cannons, and especially when your enemy gets totally destroyed and annihilated. What I also like about this game is the banter between Kazuki and Ryoga. Also, there's no permadeath in this game as well. So even if your one of your Vancers die, it will still be in the next battle. So what I don't like about this game is, in some instances, I'm not sure if it's in most battles, if you don't get to kill your enemies immediately, just more enemies spawn. So there's more enemy to kill. Enemies who surrender also, because some enemies surrender, they will be idle during the battle, but later on they can change their mind, so they're gonna betray you. So better kill them
Oh
off
yeah,
even if they've
they can
surrendered,
change their minds. Sure.
the bastards. So also there is also fire support from your allies, maybe air support. So there is friendly fire in this one, and I hate it. I hate it to the core. The friendly fire. Also, I'm not sure about the attack speed, because when I'm attacking the enemies, it's like their counter attack comes first. I forgot about the attack speed thingy here. And the strategy I take here is, the good thing is you can check your enemy status before moving. So you can check if uh, what kind of weapon they have, if it's melee or ranged, and then you can decide which style to go for. So if your enemy is mainly melee, try diagonal, it cannot counter you. And also, there's also elevations here. Uh, you could not fire, or they could not counter depending on the platform you are. And so that's for me with front mission 3. I hope I covered it quite quickly, briefly.
And just like in the real world, the Philippine Panzers came from hand-me-downs from the United States. All right.
Surplus.
Surplus.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that, Miss I. Dagat Ahas. Yeah. How about
Dagat.
Sir Drew? What you
Yeah,
got?
so I was actually gonna go for a triangle strategy, but we'll skip that. And since we're gonna do a fast run, I'm gonna go with this one. This is Mario plus Rabbids
Oh, I've heard
Kingdom
good things
Battle.
about that one. Mm.
Yeah, this is an actually sir. This got me left field because Ubisoft, and Ubisoft has only done one other RPG style, and that is Child of Light, which is also a really good game. Uh,
Mm.
but getting back into this one, if you check this out, hey, it's Rabbids. It's from the
Mm.
Rayman series. It's
Mm.
the crazy cartoon for kids, but
Mm.
it actually really works out for this particular game. And if you like the XCOM series, wherein you have to take into consideration cover and
Mm.
the cover system, because this is Mario with a gun. What else do you need to? What else do you need? Mario with a gun. You use cover. Besides the movement, you could actually jump on the enemies on this particular game. Go inside pipes. You're with rabid versions
Mm.
of the Mushroom Kingdom battle, and uh like one the rabbit Yoshi has a huge a minigun, and
Mm.
to it's a fun it's a fun type of game, and set in the Mario universe. You don't really you need to think a lot when you're in the actual gameplay, but in terms of the story, it's just a mixed mashup. Two worlds coming in together. There's some sort of plot. You're trying to get rid of this particular dilemma. Nothing too deep. This is a lot of fun, a lot of comedy moments on there, and those comedy moments are actually one of those things that's lacking in most of the games right now. The lightheartedness of it, and
Mm.
and if you play this game with heading into this game that you just want to have some strategic fun, it's the gameplay is much faster than
Mm.
other strategy or tactics games, and it has a very nice color palette, as you could see in this video. It's also a very nice starting point, because my kids my kids do not play JRPGs, but they love this. And the second game, the Sparks of Hope, because
Mm-hmm.
they feel they are much more connected, get more connected with this particular game than the darker aesthetics and story of other tactics and SRPGs. So if you like the XCOM style of SRPG gameplay and you love this Nintendo characters, the Mushroom Kingdom, Mario,
Mm-hmm.
Luigi, uh, Peach, and there's also a DLC where you would be able to play as Donkey Kong. So that's the TLDR of this game. And if you are particularly interested in Mario, and when it's about Mario, it's all about experimentation. It's all about the spin-off games, and they did deliver with this. And their collaboration with Ubisoft really did them wonders, and that's why this particular side series got a sequel in a short amount of time, because it is really a really fun experience with not that deep of a gameplay. It's just some
Mm-hmm.
positioning and shooting cover and all that jazz. So do try it out if you're peaked by what you see on this short video.
Mm-hmm. It certainly does look like it's a lot of fun, and I like the fact that the mechanics make sense with with the Mario idea that you go through pipes. I'm imagining they all have different stats and attack parameters and things like that
Yeah,
to sort through.
yeah.
All right, this game goes on sale a lot too here in the U.S.
Yes.
This one and the sequel as well. So I might want to jump in try this. It doesn't sound as complex as the other ones that I've tried. Okay.
All right.
Hey guys, I just need to button real quick.
Oh
I
yeah, go ahead.
just want to say for our viewers who live in the Mindanao
Oh.
area, please do be careful. I think there was an earthquake, 7.7 magnitude earthquake, and the affected parts are mostly lower Japan, lower end of Japan, as well as Mindanao here in the Philippines. So
Mm,
everyone, please be careful. I hope
yes.
you are safe, and please watch out for any potential
Mhm.
aftershocks, because my friends were sending messages at around 11:50
Oh.
p.m. So, especially you, Drew, please stay safe with the family. And I just wanted to let you guys know about the news that I got.
Mhm. Yes, absolutely. We here at Timeless Gamers Show make sure that we sympathize and we pray for everybody who is affected by the current situation over in Mindanao. Please make sure that you have all your emergency supplies with you. Make sure that everybody's safe and secure. And yeah, we prayers for everybody. Mhm.
Okay. I'll go with mine.
Mhm.
I was about to one. I was about to choose Persona 5 Tactica. Just
Mhm.
came out just recently, but fuck that. Let's go with something a little bit more a little bit more obscure. So this one here is Valholian. Weird name, Valholian, like as Holian. Okay, Valholian.
Mhm.
All right. This came out for the Sega Saturn
Mhm.
um, back in 1998, and for something that came out of 98 and all of the JRPGs that came before it, there are a lot of things that I was expecting, but the game didn't really deliver on it. So I'll just show a quick gameplay. So that's it. So that's Valholian. And what's the good? Oh, story. All right. So in a world, there's a goddess. Okay, the goddess blesses everyone. Two
Mhm.
nations rose up to power. They want to decry the goddess. The empire, full of warriors. The kingdom, full of magic users. Okay, so basically jocks versus the nerds. and each nation is trying to vie to become the champion of the goddess. So we have, and then you'll have your main character coming from the kingdom. He's the only guy. He's the only person in a kingdom full of magic users who cannot use magic. And then he tends to encounter boy meets girl coming from the empire, full of warriors, but unfortunately, she's the only one who can use magic. So guy who can't use magic, full of in a place full of magic users, meets a girl who uses magic users in a nation of full of muscle brains. Meet together, and they encounter each other, meet people, and maybe something eventually along the way. All right, so let's get into it. So the good. Um, when the character attacks an enemy unit, there will be a 3D animation of the two units fighting each other. You can turn that off if you don't want to. It gets old real fast. Although your characters and the enemy units, they have a 50-50 chance of dodging any attack. There is a save and a load function during the whole combat scene. So before you plan your next move, it is very advisable to save first. Why? Because if the enemy unit dodges your attack, you can just load the save file, try again until you hit the enemy. The treasure chests for the items can be found across the battle map. Sometimes it doesn't have any at all. The treasure chest can sometimes contain one piece of equipment or accessory. That's the only good that I can probably think of as of now. The bad, all right. There are no healing items. Again, there are no healing items for this game. There are some party members that have some healing magic from the start when you first meet them, but they can either heal themselves or heal others. And the characters that can heal others, um, the frequency of how many they can use that magic is very sparse. So healing, support, attack magic is possible if the character has enough action points or AP. So during active combat, the screen only shows the HP of your party, not the AP. So what's that? So you have to go to the status screen to see how many AP points that you have. So regardless of what kind of magic that you want to use, it takes only one action point from the pool. So for example, if your character has 3 action points and you only have a single magic in your repertoire, which is heal, that means you can only use heal 3 times. If that character obtains an attack magic, so you got attack magic and heal magic, and you got 4 action points. That means you can either concentrate that character on healing. You can spend all 4 points just to heal your party, or you can use those 4 points just to just keep on using attack magic until everything runs out. And as far as I know, there are no items to replenish AP either. There are some characters who can use their own AP to refill the AP of the others. The menu format during battle can be jarring at first. So during the player turn, the prompt goes to a certain party member asking the player where to move. That's an automatic thing. Once you move the character, the menu shows up standby, items, secret arts. If the character is adjacent to an enemy, it will be attack, standby, items, secret arts. Now, my biggest gripe will be, why do you put standby high on the menu? So this means that you might accidentally push standby by mistake, effectively ending your turn. And I found myself doing that quite a lot during the beginning of the game. Very annoying. Um, so when you the items here, when you the items are free to when you put all, sorry, so like I mentioned, so standby items, secret arts. So if you put it on the items tab, you are free to change the equipment of that particular character. You can stack up on accessories to increase their stats, although this function is only useful before attacking an enemy unit. And because there's no HP, there's no AP replenishing items that I've seen so far. You're gonna be needing that one, just to make sure that your party members. So basically, you're just tossing, giving accessories, equipment to to the characters that haven't attacked an enemy yet, or hasn't been attacked by the enemy yet, just to make sure that they stay alive. Because the enemies here have a very unfair advantage, in my opinion, in terms of their vast numbers, and they have higher stats than you. The game is very linear. There's no means to go elsewhere to grind or level up. Once you reach a chapter, some exposition will take place, and then the combat starts. So it is up to the player who gets to kill for a higher for the higher experience points. And speaking of the experience points, the XP leveling up here may be a little bit weird at first. A single attack of an enemy that you'll manage to do. So let's just say you got a unit attacking an enemy. You'll most likely you'll only get a single digit experience points after you attack. Although if that particular character manages to kill that enemy, you will get at least 40 experience points. That can potentially get a level up. Sometimes doesn't. In some strategy RPGs that I know of, it takes 100 experience points per level up. Here, you don't even know what's the level cap is. So, strategy. What I usually do, try to lure one enemy unit at a time. If all of your party members advance too aggressively, all of the enemy units closest to your party will answer in kind. So, tread carefully. The character who needs to level up the most should get the killing blow. So, be sure that character is ready. The magic users here are weak against warrior attacks. The warriors are weak against magic. So use that to your advantage. If you have characters that are low in HP and you want them to survive the battle, there's no permadeath. There's no permadeath. That said, using the item sub menu, you can get rid of the equipment and their accessories. Give them to the other characters who can still fight, and your weakened characters who are depleted of their equipment can just stay away from harm's way. And you can just use them to get the final blow. That's how I usually do it. So yeah, that's Valholian.
Such an unfortunate choice of name, but what can I say? It looks at the storyline. The premise sounds interesting. I really wish a lot more of these SRPGs had interesting premises as the way that you phrased it, Joe. It does sound like something I might get into.
This is extremely difficult at first. I had some difficult time playing this
Hmm.
because there's no healing items. What the hell?
All right.
So that's my game. Let's go with Sir Jomar.
Okay, thank you. So my second game is actually one of the OGs of RPG and tactical gaming. All you need is a pencil and a paper, your appetite for adventure, and of course a strong sense of imagination.
And costume.
Costume.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's optional. That's optional. And costume, yeah.
No, in my party, it's mandatory. You come in costume or you don't play at all.
Yeah, so I'm talking about D&D. So I really love that game. It was introduced to me by my cousin, who's from here, and I was in the Philippines before. And the D&D started in the Midwest. So I got a chance to to go to Wisconsin and visit the dungeon where it all started. So on this game, you're actually not controlling a character
Mm-hmm.
a playable character. You're actually assuming a
Mm-hmm.
character.
Mm-hmm.
You're changing yourself. You're putting your shoes on one of the characters in the level of, if you're making like say a fighter, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'll make a fighter. You'll do the background, everything. What's your background in fighting? Everything from that level to what's your specialty of on your training, stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. D&D is it's really special because the adventure is not limited on the book. It actually depends on the dungeon master. The
Yeah.
rules are there, but it's not limited on the rule book, and it's not limited on the adventure book. It's basically the dungeon master is the master of everything.
Mm-hmm.
All your encounters, all your encounters and travels will be depending on the story of the dungeon master.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and all your decision will be decided on a dice.
Mm-hmm.
So you always have to carry the dice. So, for example, if you encounter a monster, or find a treasure box, whatever you do, it will always be decided with a dice.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how I can explain this much further, but this game is actually not for everybody, because it's to tell you the truth, this is really boring unless the dungeon master or someone that will explain this to you in a very short
Mm-hmm.
and in a very interesting way. The way I learned this is playing the game right away,
Yes.
and we just go through the process of the adventure, and then while we're doing that, I got a sense of what uh, I felt that, oh, this is exciting. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the only way that you can teach someone who's not into this kind of game the way to make someone appreciate what Dungeons and Dragon is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so I'm also looking forward for going to the Ultimate Dungeon and Dragon experience, which is it's always held annually on the UK, Northern England, where you go play Dungeons and Dragon in a real castle. So that is
Mm-hmm.
one of my bucket lists. Dungeons and Dragons. Um, it actually what you are seeing here right now, this is the modern one that
Mm-hmm.
you have those what you call these dioramas
Yes.
and
Mm-hmm.
play set. But before, you only have what you call your pencil, your paper, and your imagination. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
You'll travel to Baldur's Gate, to Neverwinter, with your imagination, and then years after, when Neverwinter Nights and Baldur's Gate game came out,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be able to say, like, wait, that's what I imagined before.
Mm-hmm.
That's
It's
how
funny.
that's how strong is the game.
Mm. It's funny how Jomar brought in the most SRPG game in the SRPG
I was
episode.
I was going
Dungeons
to
and
say,
Dragons.
because people might, yeah, I was going to say, because people might ask, Dungeons and Dragons, that ain't SRPG. What the hell are you guys talking about?
No, it
We
is
might argue.
the
This is the
SRPG.
OG. There's
Yes,
no
It's the
FRPG
OG.
genre without D&D. You ignorant
yes.
fools.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the old days, like Jomar said, you needed a pen, a piece of
Yeah.
graphing paper with all those squares, and your
Mm.
imagination. That was it.
That was
That's your
it. Yeah, that was
SRPG.
it.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, if you, for example, because this game takes a lot of preparation, and
Hmm.
it takes a lot of time. It will take you a one Saturday night and not
Hmm.
even finishing it.
Hmm.
And then um, what the dungeon master would be doing is, because you have your character sheets, right?
Mhm.
So they will be the dungeon master will be signing it, so no one will be able to cheat, and you'll be able to use that the next time you go again on an adventure with them. For
Yes.
example, Sunday you have a schedule and you cannot come, so you're on level 3 or something, and then you cannot come, and then the others joined in, and then they played, they leveled up, and then the next time you come, and then they're already high level, and then you're still level 3.
That's it. That's exactly it. SRPGs. It's not just an RPG. It's an SRPG in the way that Jomar describes it. The fact is, there's a story that actually goes around with Gary Gygax's starting Dungeons and Dragons. He took it from wargaming, from chainmail wargaming,
Yes.
and the fact is he started the game and he got a party together, and his wife was suspecting him of cheating because he would disappear at
Yep.
nights
At night, yes.
every single weekend. So one day she followed him to where he was going, and she barged into the basement, and she found this whole group of guys just hunched over a table playing Dungeons and Dragons. So, you're not cheating. You're absorbed in
Yes.
the game of Dungeons and Dragons. So yes,
If you
Jomar
could,
brought
if you
in.
can see the
Mhm,
the the dungeon, they call it
mhm,
the dungeon, that where the house was,
yes.
where they invented this. So if you can see the basement where they're playing it, it's a
Mhm.
damp basement with a long table on it,
Mhm.
and then people go there to play. Up
Yeah.
until this day, the house can be it's like a museum, so you can go
Mhm.
there and play. You can actually ask your friends and then schedule to play in the dungeon, and
Mhm.
there is a accommodation on the like other side of the house itself, and then you can stay there and then play whatever you want.
There you go. Oh my goodness. Yes, Dungeons and Dragons. Again, Jomar brought in the OG SRPG. For those of you who are interested in strategy RPGs, you can get into the games using all these modern things, but the pure experience of playing Dungeons and Dragons as an SRPG cannot be beat. I agree with him completely. All right, back to you, Jo.
All right, thank you for that, Sir Jomar. Bringing in the OG Dungeons and Dragons, D&D. And
D&D.
speaking of games that also require some sort of strategy, we got another entry here. We got a video review here coming from Luis Valdez, sending us another review, game review, not necessarily a strategy RPG, but some game that requires some strategy as well. So let's see what you got.
Pac-Man, one of the most recognizable video game mascots since the 80s. A simple, yet addicting game where you control a yellow circle that moves around the screen to eat dots while avoiding 4 of our colorful ghosts. Eventually, Pac-Man became a hit and managed to make its goal of making video games seem more lighthearted, and also bringing in women into the arcades.
This is the current craze game, Pac-Man.
I like the little man. He's really neat. He eats up all the other things,
How about that Pac-Man song that I hear around here all the time?
Yeah, you sing it a lot. You hum it.
Namco ended up releasing 4 official titles up until 1987. These include Pac and Pal, Super Pac-Man, Pac-Mania, and the Pac-Land. However, in 1996, Namco eventually made a very nice remake of Pac-Man called Pac-Man Arrangement. Arrangement takes the original Pac-Man and adds more power-ups for your disposal, and new mazes with jump panels and dash boosts. This new addition makes levels much faster to complete, and also makes avoiding the ghosts easy. It even features a 2-player mode, and this game is very fun with a friend. The new power-ups also make finishing levels much faster. There's a total of 7 new power-ups. Just to briefly touch on how the colored capsules are obtained, it depends on the last ghost you ate. In World 0-2, the power capsule that will appear depends on the 4th ghost you eat. In World 3-5, it's the 2nd ghost you eat. Red capsule is from Blinky, blue capsule is from Inky. Pink capsule is from Pinky, orange capsule is from Clyde, and if you're unlucky, there's the useless gold capsule from the new ghosts. Kinky, yes, that's his name. Red capsule makes Pac-Man move faster. Pink throws all the ghosts into a pot and back to their home and keeps them there for a short duration. And lastly, the best capsule, which is the blue one, which makes a doppelganger of Pac-Man that helps you eat and lure ghosts away. There's new hazards as well. Difficulty is okay for the most part, but World 4 and 5 is where the game starts getting harder. The coolest thing about this is that it has a boss at the end. After beating the fourth maze in World 5, our four ghosts eventually have had it and decide to take down Pac-Man with a giant mechanical ghost. The final boss has two phases. First is eating a certain amount of dots, then a power pellet to clear the ghosts that appear. Second phase is when you finally strike back by throwing the dots towards the big mechanical ghost. Arrangement is a great remix of the original Pac-Man. The game's jazz-style music is pretty upbeat and soothing. If you're looking for a great remake of classic Pac-Man besides Championship Edition, then Arrangement is just the game you should try. It's short and easy to play, while also offering a good challenge.
All right, thank you for that. So that review came coming from Sir Luis Valdez. Pac-Man Arrangement was narrated by Sir Joel as well. Right. Was it a ghost robot or a robot ghost? Not
We'll never
sure.
know.
All right. So yep, that's the show, guys. We will just do our quick um, shameless plugs. Here we go. So just to end the show, let's start with Sir Joel. Where can they find ya?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for sticking around with us for this episode of Strategy RPGs. You can find me on kick.com under the banner Banyagang Native and also on twitch.tv under Banyagang Native. Just search using the search bar, hashtag FUFB, and you'll catch me playing some random games on Kick and Twitch. Request some games. I might be even be able to play them. Thanks very much.
All right. Thank you for that, Sir Joel. And how about Miss I? Where can they find ya?
Everyone, you can find me on Twitch and on YouTube as Enslin Porter. The question is when.
Mm-mm-mm.
All right. Thank you for that, Miss I. And we got, how about Miss Hinu?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me again here. And you can find me on Instagram and Facebook. I have a page, and I'm also quite active on some of the RPG groups. So see you guys there. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that, Miss Hinu. And Sir Drew, where can they find ya? Oh,
Oh, Drew, your mic is off. There you go.
Yeah,
Let's.
I
All
forgot.
right, let's do that. No problem. No problem.
Yeah, so you can find me for my English content. You can find me both on Facebook and on YouTube on my Geek Out Gaijin page, and you could check out our small podcasting episodes. Both me and my partner is Kerbin D. Sawyer. We're doing gaming podcasts. Twice a month usually. Is named Insert Coin Press Start. We start out with what's the latest release of video games for the week and revolve around the topic and doing side quests around that. So please do check it out. Insert Coin Press Start here on Facebook. And that's it. Thank you for having me on the show. Really enjoyed talking and finding out more video games, more SRPG games that I didn't knew before.
all right. Thank you for that, Sir Drew. And how about Sir Jomar? Where can they find ya?
Well, Jomarot, I haven't been streaming lately, but you can find me at Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and Kick.
All right. Thank you for that, Mr. Dungeon Master.
Ay, hindi, teka lang, hold on. Of course, I still have one more plug. We will have a Pokemon tournament on Sweet Tooth, December 9 at UST. It's called Sweet Tooth España. It's not on España actually. It's on Asturias and Laong-Laan at the back of UST.
Hmm.
So we're showing the banner now. So
Yeah,
Shuffle Emporium,
Shuffle
in
Emporium. Yeah.
collaboration with Sweet of España. That will be on December 9th, 2023, on Saturday, 2 p.m. They're going to have a Pokemon trading card game tournament. Only costing you 450 pesos to register,
Mm.
plus a free meal. Would you?
Free
So
meals.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, how about that? So you can find Sweet Tooth España by going to the second floor Fuse Box Building of Sampaloc, Manila. Um, uh, Sweet Tooth España, of course, they are selling all of these wonderful, very delicious, various different kinds of shakes. So if you have so for people who have a sweet tooth, go to Sweet Tooth España. And just to promote the show as well, a few of our partners, the Sega Mega Masters, of course, hosted by Sir Dan and Sir Viraj, who cannot be here. Their podcast called the Sega Mega Masters can be found on YouTube, where they discuss anything Sega Mega Drive, Genesis, and the Master System. Retro Unlimited, a web-based boutique that offers apparel and clothing with prints referencing the old school anime, video games, and pop culture of the yesteryears. Just go to their Facebook, Lazada, and TikTok accounts. Retro Unlimited. Studio.ph, of course. Thank you for Survey and Studio.ph for our thumbnail for this evening for the strategy role playing games. The thumbnail for the show for this episode. They're the brand that is dedicated in making quality prints for stickers, shirts, hoodies, bags, and lots more. Just check out their Facebook page at studio.ph or send an email to studio.ph.gmail.com for your customized personal and corporate printing inquiries. Oh, do you also just so you guys know, they also renting out some old school gaming consoles as well. Uh, and Collector's Alley, of course, by Chairman Irwin of RGCP. It houses all sorts of old video games, toys, action figures, Gundam model kits, anime related stuff. You can find that shop on the third floor of the LRT Caloocan Mall. Go see in what they have what they have in display, or just follow Collectors Alley in Facebook for their latest wares. And I believe they're going to be having a mini retro game market tomorrow, Sunday, on this right there on the third floor of the Caloocan Mall. So all of you guys who are just looking for old video games, peripherals, accessories, go check it out. And that is it, guys. On behalf of Sir Viraj, Sir Dan, and Sir Ray, that is the show. Thank you all so much for staying with us. You guys out there are very wonderful. And as always, our games and our bodies may grow out of date, but our gaming experiences will forever remain. Hey,
Timeless.
Timeless.
All right. We'll
Yes.
see you guys again next time. Have a great rest of the weekend. Bye.
The
Bye,
weekend.
guys.
Thank you.